Good evening, everybody. Do not adjust your sets. It is not the Tuesday ticket, it is the Monday Club. I am your host, David Logue, and I've got my co host with me tonight, Phil McGinley. Phil, we're going to be talking all transfer news as it's happening, if it's happening at all. We will be joined by Russell at some point, and I believe Regan, our Tuesday ticket and chum, will also be helping us out during the show. We could be on for the rest of the night up until the window closes. We're just going to shoot the shit tonight. Plenty to talk about, hopefully. But Phil, how are you feeling so far on this deadline day Monday?
So far, yeah. Again, it's one of these. We find ourselves obviously at the tail end of the window. We've been here before, David. This is not our first rodeo, and yeah, it's familiar territory. Hopefully, Celtic are going to surprise us in the next 2 hours or so. But yeah, it's squeaky bum time. Squeaky bum time. Oh yeah, yellow shirts though. Yellow shirts tonight.
I couldn't find my yellow tie. I couldn't find a yellow shirt, but I managed to find the Hulkamania shirt from the official Hulk Hogan surf shop in Florida. Phil, I thought I'll grab that. That'll do. It could do with a bit of an iron. It's just pulled at the bottom of the cupboard, but hey.
I mean, as we normally do on the transfer shows, we do change the aesthetics. I suppose we can do that. So first thing we can do is we do this. With Sky Sports YouTube's back. And of course, I mean, the colour's all wrong here, so we've got to change that. So yeah, let's get the yellow on the go.
Yeah, there we go.
Yellow. Yeah, okay, we've got yellow. And the last thing we probably need is the ticker at the bottom. I think we should update that so it says transfer activity or lack thereof. But hey, there's a little recap of what's happened so far. So now it's a bit more Sky Sports News feel. There we go. Now it's a bit more. And also, does my microphone sound okay?
It's a wee bit echoey, mate. I feel like you're in a bit of a fishbowl. But,
Two ticks to start disconnect and come back in because my microphone's playing up. I'll literally be a couple of seconds. So
I'll let you do that. I'll keep us busy while we're doing that.
No worries.
While Phil's doing that, I'll do all that good stuff. So give us a share, slag my hair, a lack of it. Become a Bhoycie Bus member for a small cost of $1.99. All the content is absolutely free, but it's totally optional. It's just your way of supporting the bus and keeping the wheels on the road. Big shout out to piesports.com, our sponsors. Get on there and get your tasty pasty treats. You'll get 12.5% off at the checkout with Bus 1888. Here comes Phil. Look at the timing on that. Was perfection, Phil. Perfection.
That should be it now. The sound.
That's it. Oh, yeah. Clear.
A message saying my microphone was unplugged. It wasn't fully in, and even when I put it fully in, it still came up saying it was still coming through the webcam. So had to do the universal fix, turn it off and turn it back on again, and hey presto, it works. Surprise.
And we've got some great contributors in the chat tonight. There's Liam Greenlaw saying that Jota needs a wee visit to Har Barber. Yes, he 100% does. I think we need to get that mullet back, and I don't care what anybody says. He suited the mustache. He needs to get that back, Phil. He needs to get that back. But we've also got 420 somewhere. Got McLaughlin B, Stephen Murdoch, Jim C, Jim Dolan. Lots and lots of members on the bus. And look, there's Celtic, regular Tuesday ticket viewer. Joe Henry, say his name and he will appear. There he is.
Indeed.
Straight out of the Rumble. Looking good. Wow, yes. Well, that's a whole different podcast, mate. We'll leave that. We'll leave that for another. We'll leave that for a night. But of course, Phil, it is transfer deadline day, and it wouldn't be transfer deadline day without Celtic rushing about, chasing deals, and leaving us all slightly underwhelmed. There was a lot of hope, Phil, that the Kieran Tierney deal wasn't quite dead in the water, despite the chat going on Twitter or X that Arteta was not allowing that deal to go ahead. We'll just run with that narrative. Kieran Tierney was on the bench for Arsenal yesterday after they smashed Manchester City 5-1. He didn't get a look in. He looked rather irritated. You could say, just by chance, that was what we seen on the camera. I mean, Phil, Are you surprised that this isn't looking like it's going to happen? We know he's coming in the summer, so that's a plus. That is a positive. But we were all hoping that the Kieran Tierney loan deal was a possibility. But as we are getting closer and closer to the window shutting, it's not looking likely that he's coming in.
I'm surprised because, again, it begs the question, why did we allow things to play out the way it did with Alex Valier heading out? The loan getting terminated. Obviously, there's a few conflicting stories of how that works. Is it Celtic that make the call on that, or is it Barcelona that make the call? I would assume it was just if the parent club decides to take him back, but I've heard people say that no, Celtic make the call on that. So anyway, we've allowed it to happen, and you would have thought, well, okay, that probably is freeing up a space for, we're going to be looking at Kieran Tierney coming in now. Again, I've said it multiple times for the last few weeks. It makes all the sense in the world because, after all, he doesn't get much game time at Arsenal. Mikel Arteta's made it pretty clear for 2 and a bit years now that he doesn't really figure. Yes, I know he's had some injury problems as well, which cannot be helped. But yeah, suddenly in the last few weeks, Mikel Arteta has suddenly reintroduced himself to Kieran Tierney. Roy bumped into him in the corridor. Well, I forgot you were even still here. Come sit on the bench. And yeah, he's actually using him now. So quite surprisingly, yeah, he suddenly needs him. They've also got a few people who are ahead of Kieran Tierney. Even the boy who came through the youth ranks, Miles Kelly, even scored yesterday, and he's their new left back. But Kieran Tierney, for whatever reason, Arsenal have decided they're going to hold on to him. I know Zinchenko didn't leave as well. So that was also, we were told, was part of the reason they weren't letting them go. So I'm quite surprised that with the way things have played out with Valier going, especially when you add in that just a couple of weeks ago, Brendan Rodgers put on the spot in a press conference, you don't want to go into the second half of the season, Brendan, a player light in that position, do you? To which he said, that definitely will not happen. Now, obviously, now tonight, we are hearing there is a left back on the way. Sky Sports News have confirmed he's having a medical right now in London. We expect that. It's not really the left back we thought it would be. It's basically an elastoplast just now until the end of the season. There's no risk to it. He's obviously on loan, Jeffrey Schlupp, and he's out of contract at the end of the season. So, hey, if it all works out and he is useful to us, then, there's no risk. We could sign him for nothing at the end of the season. But given where our expectations were in the last couple of weeks, David, I'm a bit underwhelmed by it, to say the least.
Before we continue on, of course, we have just been joined by Bhoycie himself. Bhoycie, we've just got discussing the left back situation. We're obviously discussing. You were very optimistic, as most of us were, that the Kieran Tierney deal was looking likely it was going to happen. It's clearly not going to happen. As Phil's alluded to there, Zinchenko didn't move on from Arsenal. They've now currently got 4, or if not 5, current left backs at the club. Seems a bit of an overkill for Arsenal to have that many players. I'm surprised in myself that the deal didn't get done. There was a lot of talk that, why is Tierney not pushing this move himself? Tierney's raging that he's not getting the move, apparently. I mean, this is a guy that's still pushing for a Premier League. He's played enough games in this season to suggest that he would get a title. If he would get a medal if they did happen to chase down Liverpool and overtake them. They're still in the they're not in the FA Cup anymore, are they? But they're still in the Champions League. Obviously, he's featured in that. I believe he's in the squad. So I mean, he's still got a part to play by the looks of it. I mean, we've seen him come off the bench for Arsenal. Are you surprised that he hasn't pushed for this move more?
I don't know about that. I think the one way we can look at it is what certainty did Celtic have in their mind that they were going to have an upgrade sorted for left back, because Alex Valier was settled in by this point with his 20 games. He'd been trusted in big matches. He'd played against like Atalanta, which Rodgers himself was quick to quote. I think in the same interview that Phil was alluding to. And then you see him depart. He can only depart if that means then the boy that they've still actually announced to sign the pre-contract, Brendan decided to do that on our behalf. We thought that was another wee bit of a power move. And I suppose once the window shuts, and if it is to transpire, it looks 99.9% certain that KT won't join before the window shuts. It looks like that was actually it was a power play, but not one with optimism. One going like, that's hanging in the balance here. Like, I need to make it abundantly clear that, you know, that's a deal we've already got sorted, so why can't we get him now? How keen are you to then see players that you're bringing in at the club, whether it's KT or not, that are disruptors at their club? Not entirely sure of that. I think all we can look at it from is the sum of all parts that Celtic could control. And that was they let a left back go and they replaced him with a target from 2 windows ago on loan for 6 months at 32 years old when they've made progress in the Champions League. When they've got that lead in the league, where the manager's made a profit again this window so far. I just don't see how that was ever the plan. Certainly not from the football side of things. So it looks to me as though whatever the ideology was, or the reasoning behind letting Bhoycie go from a Rodgers point of view hasn't played out. I think what he's done is he's let Bhoycie go, very much thinking that KT will be accelerated and that move will occur this month, and that's moved. And I think we'll get to it, but I sense the same things happen with Fitzgarden, where he's let his preferred striker, if we're honest. I mean, Kyogo was his preferred choice to Adamida. I think this season proves that. I think he let him go on the basis that his target was going to be coming in. Of course, these things can change from the parent club, and any warmth to Tierney leaving and any warmth to Fitzgarden leaving, they may have shifted their goalposts, but Celtic have played their hand already by letting 2 first-team squad players go, one a first-team regular and a darling of the fans. The other one, certainly someone I think that suited Rodgers' style better, and Alex Bhoycie, and I just don't see how Jeffrey Schlupp, no disrespect to him whatsoever, how he was ever part of that plan that, right, we'll let Bhoycie go because I think we can get Schlupp on deadline day. I'm not convinced that was ever what the plan was, and I think it will be the same for if a striker comes in. We'll be saying this. I think that would apply to that as well. Do you know what I mean? That wasn't part of the plan when you let these guys go, and that's the disappointing bit. I think, David, we need to look at it from what's Celtic done here, and why have they done it? And if our hunch is right, obviously we're only speculating, but it looks like they've, whatever their feelers were or whatever instincts they had at that time or inclinations they had, it looks like they were as miles off it as probably I was in showing them the fucking respect and faith that I have.
I'm looking. I mean, I part agree with you. I do think the Schlupp's been part of a plan somewhere. I think it's been a very, very backup plan though, like a worst case scenario. I think it's been Barcelona have been approached by Como, Cesc Fabregas is the manager. They wanted to buy this boy permanently. We had no intention of obviously wanting him permanently. I think the move was probably too good for Bhoycie to want to turn down. Probably said, get this deal done. I'd like to think that Rodgers probably went, okay, that's fine, because I think we will get Tierney in. But if worst case scenario comes, Schlupp is still an option, because he was identified 2 windows ago, as you said. I mean, this isn't rumour, this is obviously fact. Now that we're seeing this come to fruition, that he was obviously a person of interest 2 windows ago. I'm not so sure how keen he was at the time to come in. He was still playing. I think he played 28 games last season for Crystal Palace. He's played 12. He's featured 12 times this season for Crystal Palace. But I'd like to point out that he's only managed to muster up 173 minutes overall in all competitions for Crystal Palace. 94 minutes in the Premier League, 66 minutes in the EFL Cup, and 13 minutes in the FA Cup. This is a boy that's clearly completely out of favour now at Crystal Palace, that Rodgers has maybe just had sitting on his shelf as a complete last-minute press the red button backup plan if the shit show of a board can't get the deal done. Phil, let's talk about Schlupp quickly. He is he was born in Hamburg. If they believe he is German, but has Ghanaian citizenship. He can play as a left back, a left midfielder, left winger. He has featured for Ghana. He has 20 caps for Ghana with 1 goal. As I said, he's not featured very much this season at all. He has a Premier League title and he has an FA Cup title. I believe the FA Cup was won under Brendan Rodgers, hence why maybe Rodgers has had him on the back burner. It is not an exciting signing. It's very underwhelming because of how, we all had our eggs in the basket of Kieran Tierney coming back. Is it a bad move? I don't necessarily think it's a terrible move. I mean, there's very little risk there with a player with that level of experience that can fill in other positions as well. It's not the player that I would like, but as a player to compete for a jersey with Greg Taylor domestically, not an issue. Is it the player that we feel is going to help us deal with the likes of Bayern Munich? I'm not so sure. It's very much a stopgap, Phil. There's no other way about it. We know Kieran Tierney's coming in. There's no option to buy Schlupp, and I don't think we would even consider it, regardless of how well he does at 32 years old and probably on quite a high wage. He said, Phil, he is doing a medical tonight. There's been discussions of how much of his wages Celtic will cover. If it comes to quite a high expense, it concerns me a little bit that we didn't push out the boat to try and get a Tierney done. But what's your overall feeling towards the Schlupp transfer?
I think the best way to define it is it's not the player we want, but it's the player that we need. It's a needs must scenario where we do need somebody to play left back. And just the way this window's played out, however the board have managed it, however is responsible for the way this is played out, we can probably guess. We do need to get a left back in. The problem, of course, with Schlupp is, if you've just read out there his number of games he's played and minutes and whatnot, how long is it going to take for him to be a viable option? I mean, it's great that he can play a few positions. That's great. You need versatility in your teams nowadays. So it's fantastic that you got players who can switch it up into different spots, because you've got to cover for injuries and suspensions. We play a lot of games. So that's fantastic. But he ain't played a lot of games this year. So even though on the front of it, he's what Brendan was before, worked with Kasper Schmeichel before. They obviously played together at Leicester. So I don't have any doubt the boy has a decent enough ability to come up here and do a job, but he's going to be a good bit off of it for the time being. So when we're talking about how, we need to replace Greg Taylor and, get some competition for him, I think Greg Taylor's going to be holding on to that shot for a good month at least anyway, before we've got a chance of Schlupp maybe getting a couple of starts. It could be a bit of a wait there. But yeah, ultimately, as I say, not necessarily the player we wanted, but definitely a player we need at this stage in time, because this is where we find ourselves with less than 2 hours to go. We need to get a left back in, and this looks like it's going to be it, David.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not overly concerned about this situation overall. It's just a bit underwhelming for a deadline day when we've all been pretty positive that Celtic had turned a corner here when it comes to transfers. Bhoycie, like we said, we've been led down. Maybe we've been led down the garden path one too many times, but I was willing to go down it one more time. Obviously, the striker situation, Bhoycie, is the biggest concern. The biggest question is: are we exiting the transfer window stronger or weaker than when we first entered it? And at the minute, there's no bones about it. I do feel like we're coming out of the window weaker right now.
Yeah, definitely. And just quickly as well on the Jeffrey Schlupp thing. I mean, no one's talking about him as a player at this moment of time. Certainly I wasn't in my opening comments. I mean, I'm talking about that just in terms of a strategy. And that's not how they'd planned it when they let Valle go. It's not how they planned it when they agreed the pre-contract with KT, that this is how it would be Jeffrey Schlupp coming in on deadline day. Because if he's played the amount of minutes you have that you've just quoted there, David, first that sounds like less minutes than Jota's played this year. Everyone's worried about his fitness. And secondly, on top of that, it would never have had to have waited till after 9 o'clock on the last day to get done if he was part of the fucking plan for the second half of the season. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, frankly, when it comes to that one, because that's the point I'm trying to make. In terms of how he plays for Celtic, good luck to him. And I hope he does fucking really well and his CV stacks up. But I was asked the question about Celtic's strategy and how I see it from their point of view. I didn't want to get into Arsenal's reason for wanting to keep KT. I always look at it from Celtic's point of view to be landing upon Schlupp at this time of the window. And that's where my concern is, that if he was high on this list, or he was something they thought could have got done, it would have been done by now. If you want the positive outcome and you're always happy in your life, then good on you, because I like that. Life's too short not to be. And Schlupp, you're right, may well come in and do a fucking good job for Celtic. So there you go. But I'll get that bit. Just the point I'm making is about where this strategy lies. And AJ SC Tech comes and great to have you on the bus. And he's saying, you know, using the old lists suggests Tinsdale hasn't had an impact on the recruitment yet. What is he doing then? I mean, I posted on Twitter earlier on a quote from the previous Rodgers reign, and it was when he had a guy, again, very similar situ, came in to be the head of recruitment, or so he thought, from down south, had a bit of a reputation. Lee Conger him. And when he was asked about his time at Celtic, because at that point he was at Atalanta, you know, he tried to get in Nkunku to Celtic, if you remember, went to Chelsea. He tried to get Diaby, who went to Aston Villa. He tried to get in Castagne, who actually Rodgers, I think, and Conger, and ended up paying 18 million for to get to Leicester. He tried to get in Piccini, and he'd said, Peter Lawwell's a nice man, but he's an accountant. Brendan spoke to me and said he needed pace and power. But there were several players I didn't want to be anywhere near them, and that's why I left. Peter knows that, and so did Brendan. Now, again, for those that aren't working this out, this isn't aimed at Jeffrey Schlupp from my point of view. But if he's from, as AJSC Tech says, a previous list, then it's guys that the head of recruitment isn't going to have targeted, unless they just happen to have put out a list like, oh, no way! I had him on my fucking list of potential recruitments too. We are so aligned, because no one's aligned with Celtic's transfer strategy. It's a football guy. That's just not how it works. In terms of the striker, David, I've got to be honest, that one I seen as an aggressive move by Celtic. I think Celtic has sold a player Rodgers thinks he can upgrade on, and has went, I'm willing to roll the dice on this. And on that one, David, I'm absolutely shocked. Absolutely shocked that fucking that's not one that he had like already wrapped up, ready to go and be unveiled as this is my version of an upgrade at number 9. Many fans might not have agreed with it. That's cool. But the only way I thought, you let a guy you prefer to play in the bigger games, Dad Amida, if you're going to let him go, that means you've got your ducks in a row for the replacement. And then it's up to Rodgers' sort of judgment, if you like, to go, I think I can do better than 1-7 in the Champions League, Kyogo. And that had been his gift, 1-8 as it finished. And we could have all then just wait to see how it panned out. Do you not have any replacement? Bizarre. Just I don't get how when you do better in Europe than you have done for years, that doesn't result in rewarding the windows. And Celtic aren't rewarding the manager. Celtic are selling Bernabei at 5 million, making 5 million extra Champions League, selling Kyogo for 10 million, and spending 8 as it stands in a couple of loans. It reeks. It's just not a big club mentality. And it confuses the life out of me, because I was absolutely convinced that the Kyogo one was a sign of being, as I say, a wee bit more aggressive in the marketing. Maybe, the old adage saying, be prepared to see some of your heroes leave. Remember that one? Mm-hmm. I thought maybe it's just a bit of that where Rodgers went, I've worked with the guy 18 months. I think I can get us one better in. And you just need to trust me on this. Do not have anyone in. It beggars belief that Kyogo would be let go.
Have we been guilty of having all our eggs in one basket? Terry mentioned it yesterday on the post-match piss show, Phil, that we may have been too focused on the Vitskarten deal. Now, there's been talks, and it is talks only online, that perhaps Brøndby have moved the goalposts as it were. We were told if you want to sign him, you're looking at the region of 10, maybe 12 million max. Now it's kind of coming in at 14, 15. Bhoycie, you alluded to that, if you're going to sell your main man before you've even got this wrapped up, then Brøndby are well within their rights. If they're clever enough, they will say, all right, well, you're clearly needing a striker more than you did last week, so his value's just gone up a little bit more. I mean, that's just how it works. And
Mark Guidi on the radio as well, David, just very quick. Mark, I'm not saying he's the fucking beacon of all truth and all that, but I was listening to Go Radio tonight briefly for my sins, and he basically alluded to that exact very thing, that he thinks it's been £2 million switch from Brøndby in terms of the asking price once we've let Kyogo go, and Celtic have decided to stand their ground. But we'll spend that couple of million extra on a loan deal at the last minute if they can. But even then, they might not get that done.
Yeah, exactly. And that, I mean, this is the thing, Phil. I mean, you think we'd have learned from the Adamida scenario that his value just kept going up and up and up each week as the window got closer and closer to closing. His value became more for Norwich because how desperate Celtic were to sign him. And for some reason, for all the good work that we do in selling players at such high value, when we sit down at the poker table, we just seem to show our hand far too easily when it comes to trying to buy the players that we want to bring in. I mean, can you blame Brøndby for wanting to ask for as much as they're asking for? It's been very public how much we've scouted this boy, how we've put all our eggs into this one basket. You can't blame them for saying, well, it's going to cost you 14 now. I mean, no, you've got the money because you've just got through to the next round of the Champions League. That alone suggests to me that you can afford to buy our said incredible striker that you're so keen to sign.
It's the Celtic way, quite literally, isn't it? This is par for the course. We've been shouting for how many AGMs now, making it very public how much money we've got, and we're well stocked up on cash. We've literally, advertised it to the whole world. It's quite fine, but the two of you will have to correct me on this one. I'm pretty sure there's a tweet doing the rounds tonight, and Monty's just mentioned this in the chat, that Visgardens went to Celta Vigo. Now, in the tweet that I've seen, and it's only just one that's flashed by me, and it's in foreign language, so I've not done the translate tweet yet, but somebody in the tweet mentions 7.5 million euros. So
I put it in the chat.
Yeah. So what is the value? 14 million, 7.5. If it was 7.5, then again, that just changes the whole dynamic again. It's like, if that is what they were asking for, where's this 14 million came from? And again, if we're willing to spend, say, 8.5 million on Adamida a few months ago, we can clearly go to 7.5 million if that's what they were looking for. But yeah, it was one of these ones that just before we came on, I saw it on Twitter, and I said, I don't have time to look at it, but yeah, apparently 7.5 was quoted, and it's like, yeah, that kind of makes it even more of an own goal by Celtic then, if that's the case, if that's what they were looking for. So if it was a release clause or something like that would get us to, at least to the negotiations table. So yeah, that's quite a gaffe if that turns out to be true. But again, it could just be a rumour. He might end up staying at Brøndby because I know they're on the pre-season just now. I know they're doing that because they play March to November in Denmark. But yeah, I say right now with the striker thing, on the plus side, we have to, again, try to see it from both sides. Right now, we're obviously with Ida, and Maeda's going to be an alternative to that. And say, will Johnny Kenny feature? Who knows? Look at how they played yesterday, though. Let's talk about what is actually here, David. They did do well. I mean, they did. At the end of the day, I still think we are more than fine to get through to the end of the season. But again, that's not the point. Yeah. In the summer, we've got a Champions League qualifier. We're going to have to play one round of Champions League. And with us, as you've known over the years, David, it is a lottery when it comes to qualifiers. We tend to, we've had that reputation over the years of making an absolute gaff of it. So to me, it would have made all the sense in the world to get somebody in this window that is going to be a permanent option going forward, get them up to speed, get them playing under Brenda's tactics. Then they get a full pre-season, because the qualifier won't be till the end of August, because I believe it's just the playoff round that we'll be in. It's one round. But again, all it takes is one round to get you knocked out. So to me, it's like getting a loan in at the end of the season. If that even happens between now and then, this player goes back to their club. Say it is Danny Ings, although I hear Danny Ings is on the bench tonight for West Ham, so the chance that happened, but his name's been doing the rounds. If he just comes in for 6 months, then goes back down to West Ham, and then we do the hunt again in the summer for another striker, we're right back to square one again. But in terms of the short term right now, we'll be fine to get through to the end of the season with Ida, Maeda. You've also still got forward options in Kuhn and Jota and whatnot, and if Johnny Kenny features, I don't know. So I think what we've got is fine, but I'm looking for this Champions League final next season, because after the way things have went this year, I don't want us to miss out on this next season. And to me, it would have made all the sense to push that boat out. If this garden was going to cost 7.5 million, if that's true, makes all the sense in the world for us to have went for it this window, but it looks like that one's bypassed us, mate.
But
it's not even just...
I'm just going to say about the Champions League.
On you go, mate. On you go.
Just at the same thing twice. Champions League wise, though, we're still in the fucking Champions League.
Exactly.
Oh, there's that one. I know.
So when we're talking about that, I mean, it's great that we want to qualify again next year, but you're completely missing the point of qualifying for the Champions League if you don't actually want to do anything remotely in it when you're in it. We're here in the present in the Champions League. So bringing in a lone striker that'll be fine to the end of the season. And I get what you're saying, by the way. And the likelihood is Bayern will put us out. But that's not it's not how you think big. You think big by going, well done, Brendan, and getting 12 points, because do you know what? We didn't expect you to get that either. Here's your rewards. You keep bringing in the fucking spondulies for the Champions League. You keep bringing the prestige. You keep getting us progress in there, and we'll progress your first team. You can't be putting elastoplast on a squad if you're actually tooling up for Bayern Munich. And if all you're doing is realistically tooling up for a qualifier again next summer, then that is accepting you've written it off this season, what we can do against Bayern Munich. And if that is the case, that's not what you want in charge, because that's not thinking from anything like a hungry enough level for me at the top table. I'm sick of sitting there and being grateful for whatever we're given. You know what I mean? You want to be up there and treat it like a buffet, take as much as you can get from it. And we don't do that. We've already acknowledged that, and I think, Phil, you're right in what you're saying, that as a strategy is fine. Fine's not everything though, mate. We've got every single tool there to do better than fine. I think that's what the frustration is. Celtic are going to go into the second half of this season, this wonderful position with these amazing brokers of cash deals, and are looking like, as it stands right now, window's still open, of course, but as it stands right now, we're going to go into one recognised number 9. And a guy who's played 2 games since Brendan came back. So 2 games in 19 months up front as the backup striker. But because he's done okay there in those 2 games, competitive games, because he scored a hat-trick in a friendly, we're going to say that's acceptable. You're watching your standards fall about all around you if you think that's sound. And I think someone said to me on Twitter earlier about the left back, if you were offered Schlupp, would you take it? And I'm like, but yeah, I would take it. But that's now getting into the mindset where the board want you to be. But you said you would take that deal though now that it's offered there. Yeah, but it's not the deal I wanted, but it's the deal that you'd take. And that seems to always be the case for us. There never seems to be real proper ambition. Even the Jota deal, now it looks like that's the one that was on the back of, well, you'll need to trade in Kyogo for that though. Even when you get the good news, it has to be some sort of sacrifice for us or some sort of hit for us to take. To gain some sort of reward, and I just don't get it when you can see that Celtic's progressed on the park as much as they have, and yet we'll finish this window yet another one miles in profit, David.
Speaking of which, the Champions League campaign that we're still participating in, this backup striker that we're talking about in Diza Maeda isn't even eligible to play in the first leg. Yep. So we're already another player down. Another reason why we should be looking to get a striker in, that's Danny Ings just come off the bench now for West Ham. So he's now currently playing against Chelsea. So I think that is the nail in the coffin of any sort of deal being done for that. Not necessarily too bored, if I'm being perfectly honest about that. Also, I want to touch on what you're saying, Phil, about next season. Well, in next summer, we're probably going to find ourselves losing a Nicholas Kuhn or maybe someone else. So there's another player that we might potentially have to then try and plug when we're still trying to plug the holes from our main striker from this window leaving. It is a proper shit show. Talksport Vardy to Celtic talked about. I'd be very surprised if Leicester let Vardy leave in a middle of a relegation battle, as he's still their main
Why
striker.
would you be
even
surprised at
City.
that? Why would you
I
be
think
surprised
if
at
he
that?
his career at Leicester, I don't think he would leave Leicester.
He's
at
not going to
this
leave
stage.
Leicester in a relegation battle, Bhoycie. There's no chance. He's not going to.
You,
And like,
I just want to be clear. So you don't think a club like Leicester would let their main striker go in a January window when there's something at stake?
Yeah, imagine that.
Funny that, eh?
well,
See what I did there? It's funny
Mm.
how we instantly hold Leicester to a higher standard than we do ourselves.
but that's because they act like a bigger club than ourselves.
Do you know
That's
what I
the
mean?
thing.
Do you
They
know what I
act
mean?
like a bigger club. They're not a bigger club, but they certainly act like one. But I mean, they're relying on a 39-year-old striker and Jamie Vardy, who, don't get me wrong, if he was to come up to Celtic, I'm sure he would do a perfectly good job. Like the boy doesn't seem to have lost any pace in the last 10 years, and he's still obviously. I'm sure he's Leicester's top goal scorer this season, albeit in a very poor Leicester side.
Yeah.
But I can't see that happening, if I'm being honest. If what shows on at Talksport at this time of night? Is it the boot room with that twat
Oh.
Cundy and O'Hara? I wouldn't take much.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. This is what we've resorted to now. We're now at the point in the window where Jamie Vardy's name once again is being brought up. No, Odsonne Edouard can't come up either because he's already on loan. He can only play for 2 clubs in a calendar year. So so if any rumours of that pops up, that's nonsense. And if Timo Werner comes up again, honestly, one, he's garbage. Second of all, it's not up to Daniel Levy where he plays.
Is he a Red Bull Leipzig player?
He's a Red Bull Leipzig player. So
Yep.
another load of nonsense online.
Oh.
But it's a transfer deadline day where all the nonsense is.
Silly season, mate.
It's silly season. Let's there's been no update so far on Schlupp signing as far as I'm aware. So while we're waiting on that happening, let's talk about some outgoings that are possibly on the table. There's talk that Daniel Cummings at West Ham have come back in for him despite 2 failed bids. They did say they weren't going to pursue it, but I read in the last hour an article that they may still come in once again for Daniel Cummings, a player that made his professional debut in the Champions League against Aston Villa. Was it a sign? Was that a sign? Was that a message to the board, Phil, sending out, or was it just let the boy have a wee turn in the Champions League before he sets sail for London? And if that is the case, that he does leave, we're back to that whole what's the point in our our setup if we're letting all our best young talent leave?
I think it was probably the latter in that case. I think it was the
Negative
latter.
chance.
Yeah, he's it's a bit like the Ben Doak thing, isn't it? Where Ben Doak was in danger of leaving and he suddenly got a wee sniff here and there. He came on against Rangers, in fact, and the famous 3-0 win on the rearranged game, the midweek one. And you think he played against United. So it may have just been a sort of last ditch thing to show him that there might be some progression. But at this stage, we don't know enough about the B team. They don't get enough sort of coverage really for us to judge these players. And again, it goes back to the start of the season where Darren Adie, I believe, was appointed. They gave him some fancy title like pathway manager or something like that. And so far, we aren't seeing any sort of evidence of a pathway to the first team. I think Celtic, though, in the position that we're in, we can't really. It's not like the Ronnie Dyler couple of seasons, David, where you could get some of the youngsters getting game time because, let's be honest, we were never ever going to lose any of the league titles at that time. So it's no coincidence that Callum McGregor and Kieran Tierney both came through at the same time. They got the game time needed, but right now we're in a position where I know we are double figures ahead of Rangers right now. We are in a comfortable position, but it's one of these scenarios where if Brendan Rodgers was to bleed in some youngsters and we drop points, what's the first thing that the fans are going to point at? Because we know how the fans tend to react, David, when we drop even just a point, never mind 3 points. So can you imagine if we were to play somebody and draw 1 each or something and like 3 or 4 youngsters have got a game that day? they're going to point to that. So we're in a position where you just feels like we just can't get opportunity. So for Daniel Cummins, if he moves on, so be it. He's just another one that joins the list. But you know, as you said there, it's indicative of the entire system that Celtic have got right now with the B team and no proper reserve league. They're in a competition where they can't get promoted. So realistically, what's on the line in all these games that they play? There isn't a prize at the end of the season for them. They can't go up. They can't win the league, essentially. So it's like, what are they really playing for? So that's another pod we could talk for ages about the whole revamp that needs done there to improve how you've set up. Because, but yeah, Daniel Cummins, it looks like he'll probably just be joining the Ben Dokes of this world, and that boy Morrison that went to Bayern Munich, and Dembele, Kanamoko Dembele. So yeah, he'll just be joining that list. I mean, obviously he was thrown on last week. It was a tall order to throw him on. There's not really much we can judge him on from the brief performance that we saw there, but yeah, it's just the nature of the beast with Celtic's youth team, mate. He'll head off to pastures new, and if it works out for him, like Ben Doak seems to be doing bits now, fair play, but he could easily just fall by the wayside like some of the other ones have done in the past as well with us.
Another player that made came off the bench against Aston Villa Bhoycie was obviously Dane Murray. A lot of questions were asked of what is the point in our Polish centre back, whose name escapes me right now. That's how long it's been since he's played. What's his name? Narowski.
Yeah,
that guy. That guy. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no signs of him leaving in this window. So I'd like to think then the whole day, the youngsters coming on was just a case of giving them some game time, some experience.
Do you want to know the latest story that I'm seeing?
Oh, always, mate. Can we get a breaking news banner coming up?
I've got the breaking news banner,
yeah.
yes.
Oh, don't give it until the breaking news banner comes up.
Okay, of course.
There you go.
Well,
Professionals here, Bhoycie.
It is that Shamrock Rovers are still optimistic and hopeful of getting Johnny Kenny back. So that is surprising. But yep, that's just came out 15 minutes ago. Obviously, he's only the team that they can play for because he came on against Ross County for us. So similar to the Edward thing, he's played for these two clubs. They play Molde on Thursday, but he would still be able to play in that as well.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one, that.
That's a striker.
Yeah.
And then it feeds into probably optimism from our point of view that then surely to fucking God we must be still working on a deal for a striker. How it gets to this stage every time, I'll never know. And again, it'll just be accepting whatever we get and being glad that we've done it. But I also wonder if that means that's where the Cummings sort of getting game time ahead of Johnny Kenny of late's been. Let's see how he goes. That's why they've rejected $500,000. Let's be honest, Celtic would take $500,000 normally for a guy if it looks like he's signed a pre-contract with West Ham already. I wonder if he is. If we count Maeda as a winger, then I wonder if Cummings is to be the backup striker.
I mean, obviously Kenny couldn't play in Champions League, obviously, because he'd been playing he wasn't registered whilst being away. Kenny had a decent loan spell at Shamrock, so I mean, he featured he featured against Ross County, but that was the only time I think we've seen him since he came back. So that tells me that Rodgers had seen enough in training, maybe just to decide that it's not going to be his guy moving forward. Cummings, yeah, I mean, I have to agree with Bhoycie, Phil. I think if 500,000 is coming in for a player that's ready to leave for nothing, Celtic are taking that all day long. So either Celtic have managed to convince him to sign a contract, but I mean, I'm sure even if he was to sit on the bench at West Ham under not David Moyes, who's the Brighton ex-Brighton manager?
Graham Potter's the manager.
He's certainly going to triple his wages. But I want to make comment on what Rodgers said in his press conference the other day about patience for players, and we know who he's talking to there. He's obviously he's talking to the fans, but he's also mainly talking to Cummings himself. And I wonder if those words have either fallen on deaf ears or perhaps perhaps Cummings has maybe seen a little light at the end of the tunnel there, and we might just see a contract signed, Phil.
Well, again, he can look at Ben Doak as he's the best example probably in recent years, but at the same time, he's probably the only good example. So if Daniel Cummings is looking at that and thinking that's the old grass is always green on the other side thing, so he'll need to back himself pretty well because I think Ben Doak's been the exception to the rule. But I did see this, David, tonight. On the story of West Ham, we're talking about Danny Ings, and he's obviously on the park. West Ham did sign Evan Ferguson tonight, so they now have another striker on their books. But yeah, the fact that there's no way that this Danny Ings thing could happen, surely, if he comes off the park at what? Well, now, in fact, it'll be full time now, won't it? It'll be a bit then. So, yeah, but I can see right now on the ticker that Eyes came off the bench tonight. So I don't think they can complete a medical. I suppose he just played a game of football, so obviously he's fit to play. But I don't know. There's obviously a process to it.
We're playing in London, mate. Brendan's waiting, and it's just waiting in the hallway there, just to have a wee chat.
Schlupp's done his medical down in London, so I mean, they could. But I did see that West Ham did sign Evan Ferguson tonight, so Danny Ings just falls further down the pecking order because Graham Potter had Evan Ferguson at Brighton, gave him his break there. So he's obviously coming in, and he's going to definitely go, well ahead of him. So what happens to him? I did think when I heard the link earlier on, I went, in fact, that's a name that you and I, David, had discussed before on our Tuesday ticket. I think back in the summer, his name was suggested, and the two of us said at the time, well, he's got a half decent Premier League record. It's probably not the worst shout, but yeah, this stage in time, at this point, we're kind of scrambling around, hoping we can get something done, but I can't see that one happening now. And I say if Daniel Cummings is now going to head down to West Ham, it does seem weird that the Celtic board, we know how much they do love the old money. 500,000, they would 100% just take that now. But have they got plans for him? I say with the youth players, I say Celtic, the last ones that had a real break was under Ronnie Dyler. So I can't see Daniel Cummings making a massive impact. I'd like to think so. Obviously, at the end of the day, we always want the players to succeed, but I just feel like at this stage, again, that's just it just doesn't excite me too much, that one.
No, Danny Ings, I mean, he's played more minutes this season than Schlupp has. A total of 386 minutes, 251 in the Premier League, 13 appearances. Majority off the bench, 1 goal, 2 assists, an FA Cup appearance and an EFL Cup appearance with no goals and no assists. He has obviously got a Conference League winners medal to his name. He's 32 years old. Obviously, he's a former England international of only 3 caps, 1 goal. Danny Ings, his name's been touted on here a couple of times, and again, it's very underwhelming. A very similar mold, I think, to Adamita as well. I always like to have a idea of having 2 strikers that are completely different to mix it up a wee bit. So no, I mean, I'd be very, very surprised if a deal can be done in the next hour and 8 minutes and 56 seconds. Unless I was going to say unless a deal's already been made, but I mean, he certainly wouldn't have been playing today if that was the case. So I mean.
Do you think? By the way, it's 363 live, so a big shout out to you all. Massive thanks. That's a hell of a lot of people to be watching live. So cheers. Remember that like button. Oh, dislike button. I don't really care. You can hit either of those if you so wish. It does help the channel and that kind of. Hit subscribe if you're new. All that stuff. I wonder if there's a debate going on right now, right? Where somewhere, Phil, someone had the idea of, right, see if January goes Pete Tong or we don't get in the targets. What do you mean not get our targets in? Ha 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 ha. We would never do that. Anyway, let's just say we don't. Why don't we announce KT pre-contract deal on deadline day? They've not announced it yet.
Yeah, it's a surprise that they haven't announced it yet.
And it's crossed my mind before that actually what I thought was that they would do it as part of a good news window. So they would do it maybe even if they did leave it till deadline day. It would be done on the back of as if this window couldn't go any better. We can confirm he signed a pre-contract, yada yada. And maybe they were holding off because they thought he would be coming in this window. So they thought, right, we'll just tie it up with both. Do you know what I mean? I've just got. It's still a story they need to break at some point. I mean, I wouldn't rule anything out that gets announced, but tonight. Do you think they would have the gall to do that?
Well, this is the Celtic board. The term "read the room" seems to escape them at times. Brendan Rodgers literally confirmed it in a press conference recently that that deal's done. So what would be the point now? But I get what you're saying. They haven't done any sort of big, announcement about it. Like putting a fancy graphic up on Twitter or anything. But we already know what's happening. The manager's literally told us it would be a bit pointless. But I get. I mean, they probably maybe thought there was going to be a strong window to get all their targets. That could be a nice wee, cherry on the icing at the end of it. Oh yeah, he's coming in the summer. Maybe he's not coming now, but we did get all these other targets. But see, here we are in the last hour, trying to get stuff sorted. I think it would be mental. I think the Twitter account might need to close the comments. I think you can't reply to it if they put it up because the manager's literally told us it. So it'd be a pointless move for them to put any sort of fancy announcement out there because we already know it's been officially said by Brendan. So, but again,
see when you're that far detached from reality, Phil.
Well, yeah, reading the room, as I say, they're not.
Aye. Do you know what? You just never know, man.
Yeah, man.
We never know. I think as well when I'm looking at like some of the reactions, I think I'm seeing today. We've seen these other windows. Used to have done this show now. What is this? The 4th, 5th edition now that used to have done it? You've done a wee deadline day on the bus?
Yeah. I think that's like the 4th one or something, yeah.
Is it feeling, David, the deja vu? Like it does. It feels like we're always going, that's your, stems like that's your whack. Or, I mean, last January, if we go back to that, I've been praising the last 2 windows purely on the fact, right? I've thought, well, it was quality over quantity. We've played the players that we've brought in those 2 windows, so it does feel like they've got more of Rodgers' fingerprints on them, and that's probably all essentially true, right? And it's a good positive spin as well. When it comes to actually that window that you go back to last January, we were fucking underwhelmed. Rodgers had promised 4. We were in a title race. All's well that ends well and all that. But if you remember, it was the 3rd choice Norwich striker. It wasn't Adam Eden we were signing. It was 3rd choice Norwich City striker. That's what he was labelled as, David. And Nicholas Kuhn, is he another project player? And actually going by his performances, we thought he probably was. We were underwhelmed then. Obviously, they went on and being key players as part of our first team squad and stuff, and look like they're Rodgers guys, and they're going to be included, and they're not going to be left out in the same manner that Nawrocki couldn't get in the first place, and Lagerbielke was out, the second he'd been in. And then even you look at the summer window, and if you look at it from the non-positive angle, and you thought more would have been done earlier. And again, I've got that feeling now, whoever it is that we do bring in, Schlupp, I'm going to say plus another. I think there'll be another signing, and I don't know why. Just for that excitement on deadline day we used to. I'm like, woohoo.
But that's it. You just said it. That's it. That's why we keep falling down this, because it's transfer deadline day. We just, all fans of all football clubs, they can't help but get excited for deadline day because we've been, not Celtic fans necessarily, but just football fans in general, is we've all been conditioned to don't go to bed just yet, Celts. But it's just stay up, and you're sitting there and you're.
Hey, I was going to bring that same comment up, so let's acknowledge Paw Patrol because he's been having a pop at us for quite a few comments now. So, Russell, I know you love these types of comments, so Russell, you can take the
floor. Paw Patrol. Hey you, jeez, you'll be sleeping outside tonight, Paw Patrol, in the fucking garden shed, mate. If you keep up that pattern. I saying, get some of the chat comments up. See, to be honest with you, mate, everyone's just arguing in the chat, eh? So we've not been brought up from that point of view. 3 of you is waffling nonsense, but yet here you are. You got your wish, Paw Patrol. 1 of your comments have been brought up, and there you go. If there's any others that you'd like us to discuss, join us on Thursdays when we bring up comments as part of the actual routine of the show. It's called the Thursday Night Forum, and I'm sure, Paw Patrol, you've been on it many times before. But aye, we pop it, we pee. It's okay, pal.
I'm always, bring up some comments of players that you expect us to sign in this window, and we'll bring them up. That's not a problem.
No, it's just all it's going to be right now is full of folk going, "I told you so," and they get their kicks out of that, which is just weird because the evidence based in terms of what had actually happened this window led you to Celtic replaced the guy who's got 20 appearances at left back this year. They have, but we thought it'd be KT because he signed a pre-contract deal. It's understandable to think we'll get that deal done 6 months earlier. And in terms of your number one striker the last 4 years has been let go, it's okay to have thought that we might replace that with a first-team striker, and there was a plan. I think some people will then soothe themselves into, but I knew that all along. And if that makes help you sleep at night, then cool. But from a business point of view, I mean, yes, I think Celtic have form for it, but to me, the most disappointing thing is we're in a position we could have done more. But I do still think there will be a striker comes in, but then again, it goes back to that debate, David, where it's you're taking what you can get, you're not getting what it is you want. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, I know. I mean, like you take us back to January there, and last January with the Adamida deal, and Adamida kind of got the raw end of the stick at first because I mean it wasn't his fault that he was that guy that was kind of brought in as that's not who we really wanted, but he did turn out to be the player that we need, and of course he's solidified that with the winning goal against Rangers in the Cup. Obviously, a lot of important goals that you could argue were a big reason as to why we won the league last year, and why we forked out the 9 million for him in the summer there. And that might just be what happens tonight. We might be presented with somebody it's not who you thought you wanted. But I believe the manager believes this is the guy that will do the job. Now, I want to go back to a bunch of comments that we probably could have brought up. Was by a couple of members of the Bhoycie Bus community. It was saying, why is it we're so keen? Why are we so keen to sign this Fitzgarden based on nothing but he's been linked for the last 2 years? Because I thought that was quite a good question. It's like, I mean, I really wanted him. I still want him. I don't really know why I want him. I'm just going by what everybody else is telling me online as to why we should sign him. So maybe Rodgers has said, just calm down. He's good, but it's not the be-all and end-all. I'm going to bring in this guy. And I'm hoping. I'm waffling because we're trying to fill in 2 hours here, guys, and we're waffling here. But I'm just kind of hoping that it is a case of, I know that's who you wanted, but we couldn't get him for whatever reason. The player didn't want to come. The club weren't wanting to play ball. Who knows? But this is the guy who we've got, and he will do a great job for us. And I'm hoping that'll be the case because it is deja vu. It's deja vu every fucking window. But I'm just hoping I'm not going to go to bed just yet. And we're going to see something
Don't go to bed just yet,
in the next 59 minutes.
David, Russell, can I throw something back at you as another angle to look at? Because you're talking about deja vu. No, but obviously we're emphasising on striker and letting Kyogo go and whatnot. And again, Russell, yeah.
Probably going for £1 million.
Probably, yeah. They
but a sell high, buy back low policy that we've currently got in operation at Celtic.
No, definitely. But obviously, Russell, you said you think it was an aggressive move like who we're going. I totally agree with the way it was playing out. That's the way it looked. And obviously, our thoughts were there has to be something lined up. What if the replacement for Kyogo? Because again, this goes back. Someone was already in the door. Because you think about it with what happened to Moussa Dembele and Odson Edouard when Moussa left. Everyone's like, oh, he's left at the last minute in the window. How are we meant to replace him? Odson Edouard was the replacement. Adamida could have very been the replacement for Kyogo, and no, we're doing now. But what we do still need is still a striker, because again, we've only got Adamida as the recognised number 9. Johnny Kenny, who's not really played that much. Maeda, who's more useful on the wing than playing through the middle, we would say. Mm-hmm. So it's like we do still need that. Adamida has came up here for 8.5 million, potentially to rise to 9.5 million with clauses. I thought at the time in August when we did sign him, I was like, paying that price, he's got to sooner or later establish himself as a number 1. Maybe he was the vision that when Kyogo goes, because Brendan, he didn't give us an exact timeline, Russell. He didn't say Kyogo told me on this date this is when he wanted to leave. But again, you look at the way it all played out in the summer, changing his agent around about the time Adam Ida, it was looking like it was going to happen. Adam Ida comes in, Brendan says the other day he wanted to leave for a few months now. So it could have been that, we get Adam Ida in, Kyogo's going to leave, and he's going to be the main guy. He's going to become the number 9. And look in the last 2 games, now that he is the main man, look at his performances in the last 2 games. Maybe he needed that. Maybe he just needed to be told these man, because some people did bring up in the comments, and they are right. Yesterday, you've had Maeda scoring, Jota comes back and scores right away, Ida scored. The team in general is playing well. I said earlier on, I emphasise it again, I think domestically through the end of the season, I think we're totally fine. Totally fine. But we do still definitely need a striker because, again, injuries and suspensions happen. That's what we are. But I've now begun to think that we're seeing a Dembele and Edwards situation play out where Dembele left and everyone just fought right away. Would he get a replacement for him? The replacement was already in the door. It was Odsonne Edwards. But because we'd had him for a period, during a year, in fact, a whole year on loan, it didn't feel like that was a replacement because he'd been there for a year. Adam Ida's already been at the club for 6 months, comes in August full time. And now, of course, he's been here for a year. So that's probably why. But I think it could be that's been the vision all along in the summer when they were getting Ida for the price. Because the price they were paying, I couldn't see Adam Ida sitting up here on the bench for the entire season. Something had to change eventually. And the way it's changed, it turns out, was Kyogo leaving halfway through the season. But yeah, it still leaves in a position where we don't have much depth at that area. We do still need to get a striker before the end of the night. I think it's just covered anyway to get us through, David.
Yeah, I mean, I just think as well, though, with the Dembele Edwards one, Griffiths was the constant, though, at that point in time as well. So you had a buffer. You had a fallback option, like that was there. We don't have that right now. It very much was Ida or Kyogo. You've took 50% out of that. So the next guy who comes in, I think as well, just entitled to want it to be, we had 2 first-choice strikers going for one role the whole time. And we will again. And not, well, he does now first choice, so that means that's his jersey for X amount of months, while we bring in something that we don't think is as good. I'm really not into that idea. I like improving the squad. I mean, I know you're finding solace in it, mate, and I get that, but for me, it would have been whatever striker it's going to be isn't the striker that they would have originally wanted. It'd be interesting to see what's available as well in terms of numbers. Can they play in Europe? I mean, can Celtic sign a permanent player at this point in time? Nope. I don't think they would get a deal done and quick enough agreed and all that in that space of time. So it's raiding the loan market at the last minute. And I just think that for such a crucial position when the squad's done so well this season, I'd just like us to have a manager that reaps the rewards of their labour as opposed to fucking hell, right, we've got another fire to put out. And that's all he's going to be doing. See whether we're coming over as negative in the chat. I don't give a fuck. Let me tell you this, Rodgers will only be fielding questions about the window and is he disappointed or not from all the MSM, from all the fan media as well. Were you trying to get that one over the line? Did you think there was a chance that KT would have joined? Did you think you had a permanent striker lined up when you let Kyogo go? They're all questions he's going to have to deal with at the press conferences as well. Don't be fooled, right? Just being on this chat that this is happening. It is undeniable that will be the narrative now that goes alongside his next few interviews, pre-match, press conferences, the lot.
Breaking news, Phil. Get that banner back up, mate.
Yeah, Schlupp has passed his medical. Also, other breaking news, Regan's now joining us as well. Regan, I hope you're coming in. We're listening out go with all those sources of yours and you're going to tell us.
Come on, Regan.
There's something's happening, mate. We know what you're like.
Positive spin.
All sorts of connections, man.
All right, lads, how we doing?
Oh, smashing, mate. All good.
Not
I
chat, we're not.
I don't think much is going to happen, but hopefully, at this rate, I would take David up front.
No, you wouldn't, mate. No, you wouldn't.
but I mean, I think, like I said on Twitter earlier, I think it's a little bit negligent by the club because I just feel like I was all over the Brendan Rodgers, the hopefully bringing in the player from the hero from Leicester a few years ago. But I mean, for that not to happen, and then to rely on Johnny Kenny and Adam Eder for the rest of the season, that just feels a bit strange, especially when you've got the Champions League matches, David, and you've got the Scottish Cup as well. You've got the Scottish Premier League as well. But I tend to think it's because the board and Brendan Rodgers think the title's already in the bag. You know, because as much as you guys are like you're not being negative, but I think if from a selfish point of view from the board, they're probably saying, well, we're 13 points clear, and they're probably thinking that they're going to get a striker in the summer. But I just think there's been a direction of duty for the board. Surely, if Kyogo's got any intention of going, nobody expected. I didn't even expect there to be a big, massive name coming in or somebody. I just expected somebody to go in there and at least have a bit of competition for that to be that. And I know Johnny Kenny will do that, lads, but I just think it's a bit strange.
Well, we're going to hate to break it to you, mate, but it's looking like Kenny's on his way back to Shamrock Rovers, so that's one player that I'd...
Yeah, it broke in the last hour. Apparently, they're looking
Is that
at getting back on
St.
loan.
Regan?
That is the
Aye.
most. I
I've
love
been
that
busy.
reaction.
I've been busy.
Yeah? What?
That's a great reaction, Regan.
It was like Chris Kavanagh in Sky Sports. You seen that one? There's a goal. There's a goal.
I wasn't looking, Jeff. What's that? I wasn't even looking.
No, man. So it'll be Adam Eder and
Maeda.
Maeda. I'm shocked, lads, because I just feel like what happens if Adam Eder, I mean, God bless him, but what happens if he gets a bad injury? You know what happens?
Aye. No, you're right. We were just talking about that, saying like Adam Eder's fine. He's the main man, and he probably needs that because you look at his performances the last couple of games now that he is the main man. But he's one injury away. You know, if something bad happens, then Maeda, I say he's like could probably do it. But again, you know, we're still light there, so we just need another body in. It's not rocket science, but yeah, here we are. Hoping that something happens. But yeah, Johnny Kenny, Regan, just before you came on, maybe about half an hour before, there's talk going round that Shamrock Rovers are trying to get him back on loan so they can have him in time to play.
Well, to me,
Boulder, I think it is, in the Conference League. So
I think then for me, I think that means that Celtic will bring a player definitely in. I'll need to go through my contact book and see if I
yes,
can.
Regan, get that contact book out, mate.
Get on the
Come
phone,
on.
Anthony Joseph. I know you're pally with him. Get on the phone to him.
Yeah, man.
Here's the
Go
other
on.
one. Here's the other one that we've not spoke about yet on the bus. I think it's a must chat because it should be done, and that is Larry Miller. Whilst
Yep.
all the other wheels turn or the other things are in motion, trying to get Jeffrey Schlupp's medical done in London and stuff, I don't know what the hold-up is and what the delay is. Regardless of what Motherwell are saying, they'll reject this bid. They'll bow eventually.
Yeah.
And I've seen something saying he's apparently, in terms of, I don't know how it's like ranked or the point scoring works, Regan, but he's currently, for his age group, he's the 7th best in the world. That's what they rate him at. Some sort of formula. This guy's under our nose. You give him straight back to Motherwell, it's no problem, but he becomes registered to Celtic. That one, I'll be buzzing if we announce that before the end of the window. Whether he's going to play for us this season or not, I don't care. I think right now is your best chance. I think the interest in him is only going to go up and up, and we're going to be priced out it. And you watch him play elsewhere, and you've got John McGinn 2.0 in your hands, but this guy might be better.
Yeah, I think also, like you said, I think if he's still in Motherwell and the end of the season, more and more clubs will be interested because I would bet my bottom dollar they'll probably win the Scottish Premiership Young Player of the season, and he'll probably get more interest in him. And we also know that Serie A like a Scottish player, so when Napoli might be looking at him, or Juventus or something like that. So Celtic need to be saying themselves that was probably the prime time to strike, January, because I just think there'll be a lot more teams interested.
This isn't a player that needs scout reports or anything like that done. This is just one of those ones, Phil. It's under your nose. You get done. You become the biggest. You are the biggest club in Scotland. You act like it. You become, the embodiment of what you are. And the biggest club in the country with a talent like that on their shores, sign them up. They don't fuck about. I honestly, we are talking about, like, all yours go back to like the fair gear at Man U and stuff like that, right? And he would make sure he was getting the best youth players across the country as well, for a period of time, albeit a lot of them were developed within the club. Then it was the best of the rest. And they didn't have a dwarf of finances that Celtic have over the rest of Scotland right now at any point. The chasm wasn't as big as what it is between us and the rest of our country. You go and get Lennon Miller for £4 to £5 million. It is an investment. You'll get a return on it. It is a guaranteed that he'll sign. And then you loan him back and let him develop at Motherwell as long as you want. But you have that best young player registered as a Celtic footballer. And that one being missed this window really gives me concern that they're not taking that one as seriously as I thought. I think if you leave it to the summer, when clubs have got other clubs have got a fresher set of eyes on the market. Right now, they're all looking at their own scenarios and their needs musts sort of players. When it comes to the summer, it's all about the overriding football strategy for the bigger picture. And he'll be a part of many clubs' plan to make that part of their long-term strategy. And they'll outbid us or they'll outpay him from what Celtic will offer. So you go get him now when there's no competition, and you'll even get him on a more decent deal than what you'll have to in the summer. I shouldn't have to explain that to Celtic. And I'm sure many people could call it negative all they want and all that shite. Surely you agree with that Lennon Miller should be signed as a Celtic player, and then whatever we decide to do with it after, if it's return to Motherwell for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, whatever, will you make sure that boy is going to be registered to us and not another club, which we are leaving it open to by going to the summer and leaving it to a far greater risk of not occurring if we leave it to the summer as well. That one I just don't get. I can't work that out in my head, how we wouldn't be aggressive with that sort of move.
And I think also, if you look at teams like Brighton, Brentford, Spurs, Newcastle, every one of them are looking to bring in young players because they go with the data now. They don't like seeing players with the eye, they go with data. And like Russell said, he's one of the best young players in Europe or whatever. These big teams go on with data driven. You look at Liverpool, Spurs. All of these teams, they go with data, and look at all the young players that these teams are bringing through now. They're not scared to bring through young players anymore. So people go, he's going to go down there and he's not going to get a game, but he might get a game. He might play.
Yeah. So Luke McCowan, a lot of people thought he wouldn't get much game time, and he's been one of the great surprises of the season. Every time he's played, he's looked lively, he's contributed massively. So again, if Luke McCowan can come in, Lennon Miller's shown enough in many of our eyes that he's got a lot of talent and he's going places. You're talking about that model, Russell, of signing the best of the rest. I mean, our opponents in the Champions League in a couple of weeks, Bayern Munich, that's pretty much been their strategy in Germany for a long time. The amount of players that they've just basically, as soon as a player shows any sort of promise at one of their other clubs, they just go and get them. They just go and get it done. Manuel Neuer, Leon Goretzka, Miroslav Klose years ago. all these players, they'll Bayern Munich just go and get them because they are the biggest club in that country and they just basically flex their muscle. And the thing is as well, it stops their rivals from getting them. In some cases, they've even pinched them from their rivals, like Borussia Dortmund. Guys like Lewandowski ended up going to Bayern. So it's like, it's just how you do it. Yeah, Matt's Hulls, yeah. So it's because, like, obviously, like, I know Rangers are still a fair bit behind us right now, but again, these good players come through at these other clubs, it stops them from getting them as well if we get in there first. But Lennon Miller, to me, it makes perfect sense for us to definitely look at him. He's a person of interest. Yeah,
it's just investing, Phil, in your future. That's one that we're not looking for the impact for the rest of it. But they've got to have enough clout about them where they can go, right, we're going to go get, as well as the strategy for now and the rest of this season, which I'm still massively on. If the viewpoint was earlier that, hey, let's wait to the summer because let's plan for next season. Well, let's plan for next season now and get Lennon Miller when there's an opportunity to do so. And Ian O'Donnell comes in, great to have you on the bus, mate, and cheers for comment. And he's saying, BBC said Celtic inquired about Miller, but we're told he wasn't leaving Motherwell. Motherwell don't dictate to Celtic what happens, whether he's their player or not. You'd be a bully. People might not like you on that, but you'd be a bully in this scenario. Money talks. That player, you force their hand because it's going to be a hell of a lot harder to convince him when Motherwell are open to offers in the summer and it's a bidding war. I don't fancy us to win any bidding war against fucking anyone.
I wonder how much the player's agent is involved in any decision making in terms of whether, no matter how much bullying Celtic want to do, the even bigger bully, unfortunately, in transfer windows now is the agent. The agent is probably telling the boy, look at John McGinn. Look, that could be you. Look, there's plenty of Premier League clubs are interested in players like Cummings that isn't getting a game at Celtic. He's going to West Ham, making a fortune there. Just hold on tight, and we'll get you moved to a Premier League club. If Celtic are interested in you, Brighton will be interested. Unfortunately, I just think that will be playing a big part. I did wonder quickly. I quickly kind of decided against it, but the fact that they don't have a manager at the minute might be playing a part in terms of whether they're letting players leave or not. Probably unlikely, obviously, but I do believe the agent will be telling Miller, hold tight because I can get your Premier League move. And if the player is as good as we all believe that he is, and that he believes that he is, he just might be looking at the Premier League move as well, unfortunately.
But the pathway then,
only logical explanation.
Yeah, no, I get your point. And that's then up to Celtic to be at that fucking discussion table and saying, yeah, you might be right. Maybe the Premier League can offer more riches, but they also offer less opportunity. He's going to get a game for us. We're going to give him back. We're going to give you back to Motherwell so you keep developing. Then when he comes to us, he's actually going to be playing games. He's going to be in the Champions League. Celtic's not a hard sell that way. And then look at our track record of getting guys elevated to EPL level. And you might have some trophies in your bank.
If he's good enough, he's old enough, isn't it? Like Regan says, he might get game time now. I mean, I just watched an interview with Jeremy Frimpong about his move to Celtic, that he was literally arrived in Glasgow and he asked the driver to turn around. He said, told his brother, I believe his agent, turn the car around, and it was his brother that said, Jeremy, I don't think you understand how big an opportunity this is. This is Celtic. They provide you with Champions League football. They provide you with trophies. And it was enough for him to go, right, okay. And look how that turned out for him. He got his move to the Bundesliga and won a trophy there. So skipping over Celtic to get to these bigger top 5 leagues isn't necessarily the best move for a player. So I do hope you're right that Celtic should be sitting at the table going, okay, you can look at the John McGinn example and go, okay, or the Ben Doak example, but look at the Jeremy Frimpong, who's got more trophies than both those boys since he left Celtic. That could be you. And I know I don't want to be that guy because I see it in the chat all the time. Why is it a case of, why is Celtic a selling point for a player to move on to another club? They should be just wanting to come play for Celtic. But these are the conversations that we have. I mean, Brendan Rodgers has made it clear Celtic is a great environment for you to develop into the player that and then you would move on. Unfortunately, that's where we are in the pecking order. But yeah, it looks like the Miller deal isn't going to be happening. It's another bitterly disappointing part of this merry-go-round that we find ourselves in.
Yeah, with the comment there that we had up about Motherwell saying they're not doing any, or they're not letting him go this window. Again, what Bhoycie said, you sign him this window and loan him back to Motherwell for the rest of the season. That might have been a happy medium that we could have explored, but it just seems like Celtic just is not happening with that one. So if we are going to go back in and inquire, because Ian's message that we brought up did say that Celtic did inquire, if we're going to go back in the summer, then there's a good chance there's going to be a bit of competition there. So it's one of the ones we just need to cross it with the bridge when we get to it. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, we can get that one over the line. But yeah, we'll wait and see on that one. We need to be tentative there with that one. But I've kept my eye as well on those Sky Sports news to see if anybody. So far, the only thing we've got as far like Martin's comment there, Schlupp medical pass is the latest that we've got regarding anything Celtic related. Just try to see if at any point they go over to like any reporters outside Celtic Park, but no, they're just prioritising all the English Premier League just now, so nothing breaking, no stories at all at the moment. But yeah, we're still hoping that we do have some kind of news about a striker. Regan, any contacts, anything you've got for us, man?
No, I did see Johnny Kenny is close to Johnny Sham. Johnny Sham. Aye, so
it's interesting that they're letting that happen. Again, they're sanctioning that one because, again, that leaves us even more light. Even if Johnny Kenny wasn't really in Brendan's plans, and there was, of course, that moment at the press conference a few weeks ago, Russell, where he looked absolutely bemused when he got asked about Johnny Kenny, like, what? Who? But yeah, now we're even another body lighter in the striker department. So yeah, Regan, that's that further complicates things, mate.
Well, it does. I mean, the Kenny one was interesting to me. I just felt that was Roger's way of saying, like, you get that it was a subliminal message to both. You understand that. I'm not regarding that as a feasible option as in the striking department between now and the end of the season. He's someone who might get minutes under me, but he's not someone who's going to. He's not someone I'm considering seriously as competition for the first team, and he's too much of a drop off. I'm happy for Johnny Kenny to develop more at Shamrock Rovers. Mm-hmm. No issue there at all. But there has to be another option here. There has to be the same way we look at the playoffs. I think has to now be how we look at the knockout rounds of the Champions League. If you're going to be there, at least treat it with the respect it deserves. We've decided to go into it by selling our best striker or our preferred striker. If you prefer Adamida, I get that argument as well. But we've decided to let our first pick striker go and not replace him. Jota coming in was strengthening the wings department that we've seen a drop off in quality from 2 contenders of Player of the Year to Yang. Yeah. Jota was a necessary signing in that department. A striker, I felt, should have been a target anyway, and then it could have been someone on loan till the end of the season, just to prop up the numbers, Phil. Just to prop up the numbers. Now it looks like it's when Kyogo goes. We're bringing in a striker definitely to replace someone who's been so vital to Rodgers' plans. And at this moment in time, nearly 10:30, that's not happened yet. But if we want to keep not learning from our mistakes of how we treat the Champions League will keep treating us the way it thinks we deserve. That's how I see it. That's how we didn't qualify for so many years. And that's how we won't. And if it's just a case of, we made the last 24, made the playoff round, it's Bayern Munich, we've got no chance. If you think like that for the rest of the whole time, then it's back to domestic bliss attitude. And all they've done is actually walk away with bigger bank balances. Like with a one-off season where we got the 12 points, strategy got hailed for a year because it all looked like it was on course, but actually it was an anomaly. That's how this could all turn out as well. I just want to see us treat the big boys competition that we're in with that level of respect. I think it merits.
That's spot on, because a lot of people will be buying their tickets today for the game and saying to themselves, well, I'm buying my ticket for the game, and what am I getting? What am I getting in return? Of course, you're getting to see the match, but I just feel like they're leaving themselves a bit short. I mean, I just find it strange as well because obviously Jota really softened the blow of losing Kyogo. But if you think of what Kyogo actually did, Kyogo didn't just score goals. It was the way that Kyogo really stretched the defences. But if you, I think if you're looking at Adamida, I don't think he's able to do that. And if you look at the team, like I don't think Celtic have really got anybody that can really stretch him behind. You know, but I know that's what Brendan Rodgers did. They have first time around. It was kind of more wide players than stuff like that. But I just don't know. I know it'll be tomorrow if we don't get a striker, and they'll probably say, oh, we're probably going to get James Forrest back in 2 weeks' time and stuff like that. It'll be the normal stuff that'll come out of the club, but I just find it strange. Just find it really strange. Especially because, if you think about it right, Kyogo's one of the best strikers for a long time at Celtic. And then to not even replace him, I just think it's a bit strange.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the Thomas Tam Hoop 67 in inverted commas Lion comes in, and good to have you on the bus, mate. Do you honestly think we would beat Bayern Munich if we signed a striker? Get fucking real, man. Listen to what you're saying, though, Thomas. So if we don't think we'll beat Bayern, I've got to side them with Stephen Ray. See if the attitude is that then regarding Munich, and we know we're out anyway. Sound. No point spending money. No point getting a replacement striker. £10 a ticket. Right, because Celtic will still charge their top dollar for that as if we do have a chance. And the fans will create an atmosphere and be demanded to create an atmosphere in that home leg to mirror the fact that we've got a chance. But it's okay when it comes to the transfers to acknowledge that we don't have a chance. That everything else will fake it. So we'll keep pumping in all the money. We'll keep going to the games, keep attending and keep chanting and keep that atmosphere up like we do have a chance to try and will the team on. But it's okay because deep down we all know we're faking it. And when it comes to transfers, we can actually just take up the mantle of, we knew I had no chance anyway. That's called a take society. Sport is about giving yourself the best chance in these things, believing in the impossible. If you go in with that attitude, fuck me. And by the way, see if we'd sat still, then you could say, well, they've obviously written off Munich, but we've not. We've sold our best striker as well, Mr. Lyons. So you've got to look at it from that point of view as well.
I think even the most level-headed person that supports the board or whatever else you want to say, the happy clapper, I think they'll even be disappointed because if you look at like if Johnny Kenny goes to Shamrock Rovers and you've got Adamida, and Brendan Rodgers even said last week when he was talking about the Motherwell game, he said, I see that Dyson is more a wide player. Of course, he's played there twice and he's scored 3 goals, but he said, I see him more as a wide player. And I want the board to stay on number 9. So I think if Celtic don't, then I think it's a bit strange. And also, I want to get you guys' thoughts on. I know that there's a lot of pictures going about Brendan Rodgers being in London. I mean, I don't know about this, but I don't know why Brendan Rodgers, Michael Nicholson, and Peter Lobel need to travel down to London to meet up with Jeffrey Schlupp for a loan deal. I'm sure there must be something else going on here. Hopefully, but I don't know.
I think the picture of Rodgers and Lowell on the flight is a different one because he's wearing a shirt in that photo, Rodgers, and I think the one that the fans posted may well be today. I mean, the story is he's away to a dinner. We've heard about that link because that fucking baffles me.
Do you think this might be tactical to say, right, well, no, I'm not saying that Celtic are doing it deliberately, but what I'm saying is to make themselves look busy and go, we're trying our best, so we'll put Brendan Rodgers out there.
I mean, there's one picture of a woman, and she said she'd met him in the airport, which I think's more of the legit image. So, I mean, I don't think they're going to put out a picture that can be easily, rubbished. As a, I mean, I don't think the optics look great either way. These are the three guys that are most important when it comes to dealing with transfers, and they're away for a jolly down to London. You tell me they couldn't just pick up the phone. Certainly, because like you say, it surely isn't just for a loan deal with Schlupp that they're all taking a wee trip down there for that. So, but like I said in our group chat, like even in terms of like, okay, it's not Rodgers' job necessarily to get deals over the line, but we've seen enough of these behind the scene documentaries of managers still being a massive part of the ongoings of deadline day and getting deals done. If he's as keen to get a deal done as he says that he is, I like to think that the manager's doing everything he can to get that done and not going down to London for just to talk about a loan deal. So hopefully there's something going on there. I want to touch quickly on the comment about the Bayern Munich game has already been written off as a loss. It's understandable when you look at the giants of European football, such as Bayern Munich, when they've got players like Harry Kane and the likes up top. But looking at Bayern Munich's recent results, I mean, they're there to. I mean, they've won majority of their games, but they've lost a game to Mainz at home. They drew to Dortmund, who are having a terrible season, albeit smashing us. But most games, 3-3 with Frankfurt, 1-1 with Leverkusen. They beat Kiel 6-1. They beat Wolfsburg 3-2. But what I'm seeing in these results is they're there to be at. The goals, they concede goals. And this Aston Villa side that we really took it to them, despite I think we really dropped off once the substitutions happened because of the lack in depth of maybe quality we could have used in key positions. We ended up losing the game 4-2. This Aston Villa side destroyed that Bayern Munich side. And Bhoycie has alluded to the fact that they do have a very, I don't want to say naive, but a very green manager, as if you like, not very experienced. And I think this all can play a part, especially at home. We've made Celtic Park a fortress in the Champions League this season. We've got a very good manager, a great tacticianal manager, up against a very inexperienced Vincent Kompany. I think I want to be optimistic that we can make a fist of it, at least, especially at home. Away from home will be a different story, but I think Bayern Munich are there for certainly.
The key is, David, we have to have something to hold on to for that away game. So you're right. Home, we've got a chance, but yeah, for the away game, you're like, it'll be a different story. But if we do the business at home, if we give ourselves something to hold on to going into that second leg, but if we just roll up in 10 days' time or whatever it is and just get turned over at Celtic Park, then the game's a bogey. So we've got to believe, we have to go into that and believe. But a lot of fans
every fucking window, every fucking window, we should be going into the way a wee bit of belief that we'll come out with a better team. That's the whole point. The season tickets keep selling on the basis of, free Guinness tomorrow. I don't know if you know about that advertising campaign that they did once upon a time. It was on every A-board, free Guinness tomorrow. So it was always tomorrow, you never got it.
Mm-hmm.
Fans can't keep though putting their hand in their pocket with nothing to hope, no belief in the hope that they're putting their hand in their pocket for. And that's what's frustrating me. And then you get these plant pots on Twitter, man, ITK pish. So like Craig Celt for I've had a couple of red wines, I'm getting warmed up. Craig Celt, the Celts are here, he's pretty good, man. And he's like, we let Kyogo go without having a plan. Regardless of what happens now, we let Kyogo go without a plan. He's kind of just said it twice in a row. Maybe he's had some red wine too. And Paul Brennan, who's obviously even commented on one of my tweets today, I was like, good boy. Just you sit tight. I put a wee gift for the dog doing a wee party trick below it. But he said, hey, we like good boys, Phil. Paul Brennan says, it make you think we ripped apart our recruitment system wrongly, assuming we could employ equivalents. This is just how it goes now. Right.
Well, why do we have to accept that? Why?
right? But what Paul's saying, but he's being sarcastic.
Mm.
We've not ripped apart any system, you know. We've got it all in hand because, you know,
Yeah.
I'm Peter Lovell's dog. And then that Harry Brady guy comes in.
Oh.
Paul, you will know the detail of what's going on as well as I do.
Mm.
All the cryptic pish. Oh, nobody cares, mate. Honestly, see you, Celtic Underground, CQN, nobody cares, mate. You think you've got wee contacts and you put up your wee silly comments like that as if you're more interested in being able to say your ITK than what Celtic actually do. I've got sources, have I not mentioned that recently? And they both want to jump on like they know Celtic strategy inside out. And it'll be, then we sort of fucking messages that are cryptic to each other on someone else's comment. Like the decent guy, like Craig Celt from Celts Are Here, who is just calling it out. But a fan's point of view, we let Kyogo go without a plan. Just an innocent, normal fan observation. And it's got to be, oh, it make you think the strategy was ripped apart. Don't you know about the strategy? Hey, I'm Harry Brady. I know all about the strategy. I bet you do as well, Paul at CQN. Nobody cares, mate.
And
Nobody
also,
actually cares. Honestly.
what other top club lets the striker go and doesn't have a plan? What other top club lets the top striker go? No, nobody.
No, exactly. Exactly. But
Oh.
I see that, and I see that aloofness that comes over, and it's like, oh, don't you know where your bread is buttered in the hospitality suite? Don't you know it? Because even when you fucking don't know, you'll kid on that you know, and you'll dress it up, something that doesn't even exist. Like the strategy they're talking about, and make it sound like it's fucking brilliant. They don't even know what the strategy is. They don't
No.
even know if there is a strategy, but they'll compliment it nonetheless. They'll compliment a mythical creature that is Celtic's transfer strategy just so they look like the fucking Big Billy Big Balls on Twitter. What a bunch of nabdies. I'll see you later, honestly. See that carry on? That's half the fucking problem, man. See, listen,
Yep.
these pricks. You know what I mean? It's like, what is it you want? You actually want Celtic just to tell you stuff, and then you can let everyone know that, well, you know why things have not went right. So I think that's what helps them sleep at night better, because deep down, they must know that the original point there that has been raised by Craig Celt is just a genuine fan observation that that will have occurred to them as well, David. It'll have occurred to them if they are Celtic fans, which I'm sure they are. It will have occurred to them that, fuck, we sold the best striker and didn't have a plan. How do I make myself feel better? How do I, how do I cuddle my teddy bear better at night? How does my teddy bear still like me in the middle of the night? Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll still sleep soundly and purr away because I'll say, oh, but I know the strategy. Hey, and so do you. And we're so cool. Honestly, man, see for like that. Give me a fucking break. I can't bother listening to idiots like that because that's what's wrong with people with platforms that they built for themselves, and fair enough. But they have such big audiences that they can reassure masses with utter bollocks. And that then leads to less challenging critique, less fucking genuine observations made about the club that are even remotely negative, because many who have read their articles for years, listened to the shitey podcast for years, are reassured when they see comments like that enough to go, Celtic haven't done anything wrong. So they don't challenge it. And that's bad, because you should be able to look at everything just with a set of open eyes and make your own judgment on it. I honestly challenge almost any Celtic fan to look out a window when you have qualified for the next round of the Champions League in any era, sold who was your number one pick, who played 8 out of 8 games in the Champions League. You sell him in the January, you've not replaced him. And if anyone thinks a cryptic tweet makes up for that, because Celtic did have a strategy even though they've not seen it out, because fucking Harry Brady said it, nobody cares, mate.
See, I'm
Like, it's just load of bollocks. And that's unfair because it's muddying the waters for some of the less informed fans who are just trying to read the room from a fair vantage point, a balanced vantage point, and they're not, because they're getting swayed by petty crap like that by pensioners, it's like, shut up, man. You know what I mean? I can't be bothered with it.
I'm interested to know tomorrow at Brendan Rodgers' press conference, though, does he go with the club line or does he actually say something? Because surely he must be trying his best at the moment. I just don't understand, like you said, why you would sell your best striker. It's just crazy. And for me, I also, it's okay the board talking about it and going to try their best, but Brendan Rodgers knows that he is one or two injuries away from it just being absolutely nuts, you know. And like I don't, maybe he knew that's why he said the other day about possibly the young players not looking elsewhere. Maybe he knew that this was going to be the case, but he did say yesterday he's looking for a striker. But I'm just genuinely disappointed. 22 minutes to go, and we've still not got anybody in.
Nothing's breaking yet as well on Sky Sports. Just keeping an eye on it. Nothing yet.
Nothing at all. I mean, see the Kyogo thing. Like, you're talking about plans and stuff. That there obviously isn't a plan. So if there is no plan, then why did the club let Kyogo leave? Because I mean, they're all saying, "Oh, well, we know he wanted to leave in the summer. He made it clear that he wanted to leave." Well, you know, he only just signed a new contract only a year and a half ago. Celtic were in a position to say, "Well, no, mate, actually, you're not going until we have someone in place. So you can go in the summer. We've got a big Champions League game. We still had a other Champions League game to play, which we would have generated a fair whack of cash from. We then got another 2 Champions League games after that, minimum. I mean, I know we got £10 million for a 30-year-old striker and all that stuff, but Celtic didn't necessarily need the 10 million. And if it's like, and I don't subscribe to the Jota deal wouldn't have happened if Kyogo left. They were completely different, separate entities. There was nothing riding on Jota coming if Kyogo didn't leave. So, what
does Jota come? Do
Yes.
you think Jota if Kyogo wasn't leaving?
Yes, I believe
I
that.
would like to. You'd like to think so.
No, I would say so. They would. I don't think there was any point in. I mean, if that was the case, they were joint as some sort of deal, then it would have been. I would have thought it had been reported as such. I think the Jota deal was done weeks ago. If I'm being honest, just on a hunch. Obviously, I've got no privy to
No.
But I would feel like if Celtic were aware that Jota was clearly available, no other club seems to have been interested in Jota. So Celtic have obviously made it clear, and he's obviously wanted to come back, as he said in all his interviews. So I don't think Kyogo's deal was relying on. Jota's deal was relying on Kyogo. If I'm honest,
so it was a fair £8 million investment. It was an £8 million investment. Celtic were willing to shell out, yeah.
For a player that been sold for 25 million. So yeah, absolutely.
But undeniably, what it has done by doing the Jota deal at £8 million has put the brakes on them actually investing similar money in the replacement striker. So either way, they're taking, mate. It's always in one hand, or in Celtic's case, in both their hands and out neither. Because you can't deny what bids have they actually even made that have been substantial in this window to replace Kyogo? None. The big sale, there has been a big incoming in terms of Jota, and there's been a big sale in terms of Kyogo. I think that's the nature of the beast. I think when you look at it now, you're going, would they ever have signed in a January window 2 £8 to £10 million players?
Yeah, that's we don't tend to do much business in January, but that's a big.
Not because they wouldn't have done the Jota deal. I've worded that wrong. But the fact they have would have meant, just because we've sold Kyogo doesn't mean you get to then reinvest all that in a January window as well. Oh no. That's part of the incoming strategy. You got your £8 million golden goose in January. You don't get to get two. That's how it feels, man.
I'd like to think even Jota 7 on the back of the shirts recoups that money right away as well. So, and that's a marketing. I mean, we held off revealing his kit number till we got Palm out the door. So, I mean, I like to
When have
think
we
he
done
he
that
almost pays
before?
for himself. I wouldn't say we get 10 million out of sales, but certainly I'd like to think he'd take a fair chunk of change. As of obviously advertising today that you could get you can get your home kits at a discounted price. You couldn't mark their neck with a blowtorch at times.
I love the fact that Regan just fucks off as well during the pod.
Maybe Anthony Joseph's calling him. Maybe he's
It's
his
just-
phone's
just-
ringing. He's away to speak to Anthony Joseph.
Regan's just like, I've heard enough, boys. Say you're shite, mate. Do you know what I mean? I'm just away. Didn't say bye or nothing. Just fucking zooms. Hey,
Yeah.
you've never done
Oh,
that.
We can't use all.
It's just
We've used
rocket
all the
stuff.
funds.
You
Don't
what?
expect a Tuesday ticket. Don't expect a Tuesday ticket. You're not getting your. You can't have them in
Oh.
2 shows. It's too expensive.
I
We've run out of funds, so he's away.
mean, what do you think of this for Phil DeMarco as well? And I think it's a fair comment. You know, £46 a ticket. I seen a few folk that thought it was actually going to be higher for the ticket price. And
I thought it'd be
46.
higher. Yeah, I was pleasantly
you?
surprised, Russell. I was very. I thought we were looking at about 60 something quid genuinely. So I mean,
You know,
46
that
quid is
would be
not a big one, but I genuinely thought it'd be 60 something. Honestly,
That would be taking the game seriously, wouldn't it?
that would be. Aye,
60
aye.
quid a ticket. They're like, we need to back that fucking up. Fuck that. Go at 46,
Aye.
and there's the first hint that we're not taking it seriously. I mean, it's still, as Philip DeMarco rightfully points out, just over £2 million in gate seats coming in. I'm not entirely sure what the European split's like. You get a win, I think that'd be around, what, €4 million for a win at that stage? It's going to go up from the league stage, isn't it? So it's, was it €3.2 million now? I would guess it'll jump up to about 4 million for your playoff win.
Yeah,
Well,
but
in the
something,
time.
yeah, the further you go, the higher the prize money's going to
Yeah.
get. The stakes are higher. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're looking at, you know, potentially you actually fucking win the game. You know, it's the money's coming in, guys. We've just signed a new
Yeah.
deal with Adidas as well in the midst of all this. We're in the elite bracket now for Adidas merch. So in case you didn't know, that was a way of telling you were absolutely right. It's template tops, the training gear that you've been wearing with the Celtic badge fucking super glued to it. The last 5 years that you've all dug, me and myself included massively, of course. But we're going to be in the elite band for that. Does that mean more money? We already had a pretty decent deal. Dapperbet extended their deal with us. I don't think it was on lesser terms. I guess it's just the same because they didn't announce it as increased, which they would have done. So you've got your 25 million deal with Dapperbet yet again renewed. You've got Adidas. I think they're paying, I think it was at 30 million over 5 years, something like that. 35 million now if you're in the elite bracket.
Yeah.
Champions League money, the last 24, selling players like Burnaby for £5 million, which really counts as about 50 million because it's so unbelievable to get that money in. It's all, you're seeing it all coming in, and you're still seeing the same reluctance to spend it. It's not our gift to tell you whether Fitzgerald's a £14 million player or not. But Celtic's job, if they've identified him, to know what he's worth. And to know if they're selling the first choice striker, they've made a commitment to go and get the guy they think can replace him. And if that means a 2 million swing, do you know what? You've had your 5 million swing by selling Burnaby this month. Brendan Rodgers has provided you a 5 million swing by making the playoffs. So the swings have to fucking go both ways. And sometimes you just need to suck it up and go, bastards, you've got us. Maybe in future we won't announce the Kyogo deal the same day we do the Jaw one. It's all in plain sight, mate. So all that money is just, they're not willing. They're not willing to have a window right now. I think with the...
I was going to say, it's not even like, you know, this whole financial fair play that seems to be affecting a lot of clubs, because as far as I'm aware, how it works is if you're spending more than you're actually got as incoming, then that's obviously a breach of financial fair play. But Celtic are certainly not in a position where they would be breaching with what you've just listed off there, with the amount of income that's coming in from all directions. There's no way that Celtic would be, because again, when you see the way that sometimes we behave in these transfer windows, you begin asking yourself, what sort
Yeah.
of different scenarios that could cause this? I say I hear a lot of things, I listen to TalkSport and all these teams that have got financial fair play issues and whatnot, and it's like they can't go into the market because of this. So, yeah, I believe it, as I say, is you're spending more than what's coming in, and Celtic are definitely not in a position for that. So it can't be that, Russell. That can't be one that they can throw at us. So again, it's just like
we have a fantastic scenario with that as well, where because we're such a self-sufficient club, all our monies are so organically generated, if you like, through the commercial deals, through the ticket money, through player sales, that everything there in black and white, that it's not needing like, well, you can't just come in with £100 million from Dermot Desmond. Not that would ever happen. He couldn't just come in and spend that. Do you know what I mean? An extra 100 million without that breach, and then the rules where that 100 million come from. But Celtic right now could go and have a £50 million window, £60 million window, no problem.
Yeah,
which would be double what we did in the summer. And that would be not selling a player, by the way. I mean, a 60, 70 million window we could do, no problem. That puts us in a very, very strong position when it comes to the PSR things and all that as well. I think one of the other strategies that we need to now be looking at as the clock ticks is there is a addiction from the board to every window come out with a net profit in terms of player trading. And it doesn't matter. And I think what frustrates me with that is I think the achievements in the park need to be rewarded back. And that then sometimes means you guys need to give a little bit more. And you guys need to accept a wee red column every now and then for a window or two when the team is providing in the park, because then the revenues will make it back in the future if we keep investing in that squad anyway. But there is no speculation to accumulate strategy from the board. I still think if you're Rodgers and you're meeting all your KPIs, week up in the bank, 10 points clear, could be 13 come Wednesday, next stage of the Champions League. That's all his KPIs met. He's got Jeffrey Schlupp on loan and a return Jota, and he's lost his best striker as the tax on bringing in Jota, is the way I see it. I know Dave might not agree with that, but that's the way I see it right now, is that as the window's about to shut, because the 10 million got banked, 8 million of it was spent on Jota, 5 million for Bernabe, and your managers met all his KPIs, and yet here we are with a 32-year-old loan, who I think, by the way, might do well. And I said that earlier. It wasn't at Jeffrey Schlupp. I do think he could do well for Celtic. I think Jota will do very, very well for Celtic. I love Jota. Anyone who watched the bus in his first spell when the channel hadn't long started, I always felt he was the one who was a special one at the lot. I always felt. But we've lost our first pick striker the last 4 years. Whether he was your favourite player in the world or not, Celtic's first pick striker in the last 4 seasons has departed this window, and we've made profit again. That's
reality.
And that's when you're meeting all the football department who's doing everything you could ask of them. If you're asking them to do trebles every year, we're on course for that. If you ask them, we want strides in Europe, well, he's doing that. If you're wanting loads of extra revenue from European endeavours, David, he's done all that, because 3 wins Champions League, there's another 9 million fucking euro. 3 draws, there's another 3 million euro. Qualification, there's 5 million euro. I think they made 46.7 or something like that million euros just for the Champions League. Then I had Bernabe. Then I had Kyogo. Then I had Matt O'Reilly. He's done no bad in the last 8 months for Celtic, this Brendan Rodgers lad. What's the turnover level going to be like come the summer once all the season ticket money's added to that? And the whopping TV deal they sign up for. And we're going to have a loan striker for the last stage of the Champions League. When you put it all down like that, you can't help but be frustrated.
Yep. And are we even going to get that? What you just said, will we even get that? A loan striker the way things stand at the moment?
No.
Aye.
It's not
given that there's only about 3 minutes to go. So
it's really frustrating, because I'm watching the ticker go by, and it's all so many forwards have moved around in this window, by the way. So many.
Yeah.
Really?
Not many that maybe we would be linked with, but when you see the level of this forward's moved here, this forward's moved there, and it's like there were players available
Mm.
that you could maybe argue could have done a job. Now I know the Inacio deal didn't. He signed for Middlesbrough, but there's a lot of people that were interested in him. But I think more and more likely now that the window is closing, I think more and more people would have taken that at this rate. I kept joking that the fact that he signed there, Tommy Conway will end up on loan, no doubt. That's what we'd end up getting. But no, Boycie, you're right that it's eye-watering amount of money that Brendan Rodgers has provided the Celtic board with on him and his team's achievements alone. Never mind even the sales of players. Now, said players like Matt O'Reilly that let's make no bones about it. Brendan Rodgers turned him into a £30 million player. Not Ange Postecoglou.
Mm.
I think we've lost Boycie. He's frozen.
No,
No,
I'm reading,
that-
I'm reading.
Either that or he was so. It was honestly like you were frozen, but maybe we were just so stunned at just
You
how
were
things
so
went,
stunned.
right? So
I'm
stunned.
reading Twitter on my phone.
Well, I was like, oh my, he's proper frozen.
You're genuinely so still there.
I wasn't even breathing. Just reading the page.
My worry,
I mean, Tony
my
for
worry
the phone.
is,
Yeah, go on.
sorry, my worry is like how disillusioned is Brendan Rodgers going to come out of this next
Well,
window?
You come into it nice because I was just reading that for Tony for the Four Tims, who's, as we all know, is featured on the channel. He's a good friend of the Bhoycie Bus channel. He's been on it a good few times. And you know, he doesn't mince his words. He says, a brutal window. And it really, I don't know why I put on an accent there. He said, a brutal window. And it really didn't need to be. No issue with the selling Kyogo. Neither did I. He says, but to go against Rodgers when he wanted another striker in is fucking mental.
Mm-hmm.
You know what he's
Blame the
saying there,
fire.
David. You know what he's
Blame the
saying there.
fire.
He's leading it on. It's so frustrating to see that. SPB, what's happened to Boyce's hair? Well, I was busy in the summer transfer window, mate. I went to Turkey and bought some. Fucking Peter Lovell didn't pay for it either. But I think when you see Tony reacting like that, is because he's going, well, we've seen the movie before. The warning signs are there. And do you know what fucking gets me as well? He might not do what he did last time because he wants to make amends, but he's constantly just said, I'll be here for 3 years. I'll be here for 3 years. That's it. So talk of him extending his deal despite this season. A record-breaking calendar 2024, and he's not been offered the contract renewal. It tells you that he's here for the 3 years. And he's just, what he's going to do this time around is just point to his body of evidence and go, well, I'm not renewing, but now you all know why. I didn't make too much of a fuss. I tried to give you as many hints as I could, but you've seen the evidence. You've seen the guys that gave me the first window. You've seen I got half my targets in the second window. You've seen me left it to the last possible minute the third window. You've seen I met all my KPIs throughout my gig, unless the Scottish League Cup that first time around really was the be-all end-all. And I didn't. You see me sell my best players and not get them replaced, even as we progress. Martin MB window shut.
That's it. Yeah, it's on Sky Sports News. Big graphic, window shut. That's it. So they're just going round all different grounds now. So wrapping up. They've not crossed any of the Scottish grounds yet. I've not seen one reporter outside Celtic Park yet. I'm waiting for it to happen to just see if there's anything they can tell us.
So Johnny Kenny won't be going to Shamrock Rovers. Says
Too
here
late in the
that
day. Yeah.
the young Irishman will be remaining part of the Brendan Rodgers squad for the second half of the season. The 21-year-old spent the first half at Shamrock Rovers, and the Irish outfit were eager to take him back, but Kenny will be staying with Celts as backup for frontman Adam Ida. So I imagine he was sitting there waiting to go out on loan if there was a deal going to be done, and looks like it's obviously off because nothing has happened. So Johnny Kenny is our backup striker for the second half of the window. And if that's the case, then okay. I'm sure he did an all right job in Conference League level, as far as I'm aware. Don't know anything about the Irish League in terms of quality.
Why did he do that as well? Why do they wait till see if you can't see it? See, at this point, that announcement isn't even them thinking it gives them hope at the end of the window that they sign someone. Even they don't believe that now. There's a bit of it that's almost taking the piss attitude. Do you know that? They know this is what we do. I know they're raging. but we'll leave it till the 11 o'clock. Yeah, he was signed ages ago. Why did they do it that time? I think initially it's to dress it up and look like, we've done loads of panic moves, not panic moves, but we've been working right till the final minute for you guys. And now I feel like they do it. Trolling you.
That's a fair shout. Yeah, this is, what was it, 5 hours ago, 6 hours ago? We knew that he was getting his medical. Yep. Yeah, man, they could easily just got that done. But I don't know, maybe it's just then they put it out there early, then it's just going to be hounded with. But I don't know, I suppose that wouldn't make sense because they're going to get hounded regardless because now no strikers turned up. But there are people in the chat, and yes, I do agree with there's I saw a comment a second ago about Maeda. Yeah. So the Boeing, there's a new name, saying, listen, Maeda will play up front, highly capable when he plays that position. That is true, but again, it's like he's been more lethal for us out on the wing this season. In fact, so I don't know, man. It's just a bit like, I just feel we're still a wee bit light there. We're now flying by the seat of our pants, any injuries, suspensions and whatnot to Adamida. And if Maeda as well, Maeda gets injured, then let's just hope we don't have to cross that bridge. But at the moment now, this is what we've got. I said earlier on the show, I still think, domestically, I think we'll be absolutely fine for the end of the season. Europe, yeah, it's a tall order. It was going to be a tall order anyway, but we're not making it any easier for ourselves now with what we've left ourselves in terms of, we're letting the number one striker go and then not bringing in another body. So it's, what was already an uphill battle is now an up mountain battle, essentially. So that's but domestically I still think what we've got and the way we've been playing this season, more than enough.
I think we're all in agreement of that. And I think
100%.
like the domestic thing, I think the domestic, taking care of domestic business becomes a something that takes care of itself if you've got your eyes on Europe.
Yeah, I've said that all the time. If you've got a squad that can compete in Europe on a regular basis, then domestically it takes care of itself. You don't need to worry about, we might draw points at Kilmarnock and stuff like that at the weekend. It's like if we've got a team that can take some scalps in Europe, then we'll brush aside all these other teams. There's nothing to worry about there. But so at the moment, domestically we're okay, but we are making it so difficult for ourselves against Bayern. So it was already going to be a hard task. David said earlier on, if we've got something to cling on to go out to Munich for the second leg, our best weapon is Celtic Park, the home game. But my God, it's going to be.
Well, Adamida has to stay fit. Adamida has to stay fit now. Yeah. And then you've got to try and get Jota fit enough as well because you can't have Yang starting.
Maeda can't play, so he has to be Jota.
These are huge gambles that have occurred here. And, you've got to be real here when you admit that. And my honest gut feeling was that and I think Rodgers too, to be honest with you, I don't want to speak for him, but if we're letting Kyogo go, there's a plan. It's because I fancy the replacement more than I fancy Kyogo. I'm cool with that. And I stand by saying that at the time. So I do think it to be right. Something's changed with that Fitzgarden deal that Celtic haven't liked. But I think it'll be more people not liking what Celtic have done than Celtic not liking spending a couple extra £1 million. And happy birthday, Harold Bratback, if you are watching. Not sure if it's his birthday or not. Just to be positive on the Schlupp deal. I mean, BR's words on him. He's really pleased that we have been able to bring Jeffrey to the club. I know he's going to love it at Celtic, and I'm sure our fans will love him and what he brings to us. He is a fantastic guy. He's someone with real high-level experience, and he's got great attributes, including power, pace, and versatility. I know that he can be a really important addition to our squad this season. Do you know what? Cool. I'm down with it, and I look forward to seeing what he brings to the table. David, you must have seen him plenty of times. You've been watching because you watch a lot of the EPL compared with, probably like myself,
I mean, he hasn't featured much. Like you said, he's only featured about 94 minutes altogether.
Over the years, has he been?
Well, yeah, he's been he was a regular for Leicester, and it was Brendan that brought him to the club, I'm sure. And like you said, he played plenty in previous seasons. Did
he not win the league with Leicester?
No, he was at Leicester before Brendan joined. He's a Premier League winner. He's got a Premier League winners medal.
He won the Premier League. I thought that.
Yeah, you're right. Ranieri. Aye.
Where's it must not been Brendan that brought him in. It must not be, but Brendan's worked with him, obviously.
either
Yes.
Nigel Pearson or Ranieri, but they just crossed to Celtic Park there, Luke Shanley, and all he does was just reaffirm him as Schlupp. That's the only deal. It's on the screen right now. Celtic signed Jeffrey Schlupp on loan Crystal Palace, so there was no other curveball coming there from the reporter at Celtic Park. It was just, that's the only deal that's been done tonight. No other forwards, no other surprise players out of nowhere. So
I wonder how, with the fact that he can play, he's obviously quick and he likes to move.
Yep.
Play on the front foot. I wonder how often we'll see him playing more on as a winger than even a left back, if I'm honest.
I think it'll be left back, but to play the auxiliary left back role that Brendan wants. But go, I want you fucking up and down. If you've still got the legs to do it, and we are guilty of this as well. 32 is such an easy put down on a player. I've got more passionate about this the older I've got myself, you know. But I do think if we're talking about modern footballers now, like the way they live, this isn't the same as signing Steve Guppy when he was 32. Jeffrey Schlupp, 25 years on, will be a footballer of the highest peak level fitness you can imagine. Yes, match sharpness is a different debate, but I'm actually looking forward to seeing what he can do. Michelle, Sky have just said that Schlupp will want to play midfield. Well, he can want that all he fucking wants. It's a left back we needed. It'll be left back he's playing if I get my way. But I would quite like to see Rodgers have someone with that experience as well. And Alistair Johnson's a 25, 26-year-old, but we have a plethora experience now, right? And he does. And he's got a great engine to get up and down. Greg Taylor's, the difference with him is he plays a different role to what Johnson does in the team for Celtic. And I think if you're going to get that balance better and more space in midfield for our midfielders to do midfield things, I'm quite excited to see someone who is going to be action-packed, big engine, up and down the line, but bringing a bit of presence as well. A bit of dominance the area. Do you want to target left back when you put those big diagonals in Bayern Munich? Big Jeffrey fancies it. You know? I think there is pluses to it. Do I want it to be KT? Of course I fucking do. Of course I do.
Yeah.
But maybe between now and the end of the season, we get a good look at this boy. Right? And what also you get with it is his contract's up at the end of the season. And if we don't get all too blinded by age, this is something, particularly if Brendan's working before, he goes, do you know what? There's another year with an option.
Aye.
Let's see how many games. And then, so it might not, this might just be the user talking to a deal that has just came about that no one's seen coming, but it's actually he's going to become. I like the fact that Rodgers first thing he's a brilliant guy. That tells me he's going to be a character, and it's something that we can maybe buy into a wee bit. And get characters in the team. We need all that as well. But
well, let's not forget Greg Taylor's not signed a new contract yet either, Bhoycie.
Well, I think the death nails on his place in the team. I think Rodgers was all out for. I admit he'd got Tierney because he's saying, "Well, you're not signing Greg, so I'm going to just come out with it that I've got the next guy in." And then the Schlupp one is no, I want to left back between now and the end of the season because it's an area I was targeting anyway. But secondly, if you're not going to sign your new deal, we're moving on. And as I said, I can't imagine we've signed Schlupp just genuinely to be in for the 6 month. That would be going back to COVID signings. And then before that, you're looking at the Tony Mowbray sort of signings, or the Ronnie Dyler ones, then the Tony Mowbray ones, you know, Kazim Richards and stuff. I don't think it's that. I think Rodgers, I really think that would be what? But I'm not signing a guy for 6 months who's fucking back off straight away. This is for us to get a look at whether we can give him a 2-year contract at the end of the season, I would imagine. Or one with an optional one. I think that's the case.
It's quite a
which I'm all for.
Yeah, that is.
But could you not have been fucking done earlier in the month?
Well, yeah. Is this a case of Brendan's just went into his contact book? Because, again, targets that, you know, were higher up in the list. And we talked about the goalkeeper in the summer, didn't we? How long that dragged on. And it was a case of Brendan's definitely just got on the phone to Casper. In fact, Casper Michael said this much, that he spoke to Brendan. Personally, it was Brendan that came to him and just said, you know, what are your plans for next season? Because he was out of contract at Anderlecht.
Yeah, so I think that reeks of that.
It seems like it. I mean, played with him at Leicester. You know, he's out of contract at the end of the season. He's really getting a game at Crystal Palace, plays left back and a few other positions. There's a very good chance that, Brendan's been a bit fucked off with how the Tierney deals panned out. And again, it might not all be on the Celtic board. It could, again, we've got the Arsenal side of things that they've just been playing hardball for whatever reason. Brendan's just decided, I'm going to take the initiative here. Could be something like that. Say, Kasper Schmeichel confirmed as much in the summer as to how his deal came about. So it isn't outside a real stretch for me to speculate that this could be what's happened here. So, yeah, but we'll see how, it's a risk-free move for Celtic, essentially. If he comes in, does a good job, then you can get a year extension, and he's a utility player who can, if he's still got the legs, then he could still be a very handy player for us.
32, he should, He should at 32.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that at all. So, yeah, at the end of the day, I said at the top of the show, we've talked about it. He might not be the player that we wanted, but it's definitely a player that we need because that position needs filled. And, yeah, and I don't know, David, if I'm being too much into this and just overthinking it. But see the last two games that we've played, obviously since Kyogo's been away, it's been Adamida through the middle. I've noticed Greg Taylor has seemed to have had a few subtle changes to his game. One of the things that he doesn't do enough of is getting forward and getting to the byline and getting crosses in like Alistair Johnson does. But I've noticed that he is now. And it's like, I wonder if just because we've now got a different focal point in the middle, David, that maybe now he's been told to do that more often. Because look at the first goal against Aston Villa. He's played a nice 1-2 with Hatate, I believe it was. He's got to the byline, he's got the cross in. It's skimmed off of John McGinn trying to clear it and it's fell into Ida's path. And at the weekend as well, I believe our first goal came from initially a cross from Taylor, which obviously evaded everybody. Then Ralston puts it in at the other side. So it's like he's getting forward to try and get crossed in from the byline rather than the sort of usual. He runs into the middle, he just passes it sideways or he passes it back the way. It seems like he's actually getting forward. So I don't know if maybe we're going to see a different Greg Taylor if it is going to be the last 6 months. I mean, where's this Greg Taylor been for the last few years? I want to see him getting forward more because our fullbacks, David, are notorious for that, getting forward, getting crosses in the box, supporting the wingers. But Taylor's always seemed to be like, Johnson plays a different way. I mean, he gets forward, but Taylor was always a bit more held back a bit. But maybe he's going to change his style. And if that's that, I say the last couple of games, I felt it's been a useful attack for us. So again, maybe we'll see a change in Taylor over the next few months as well, especially now that there might be somebody there that is competition for him. Because we don't know what the future holds for Taylor. There might be a late signing a new contract. We don't know at the moment. I know there's
I don't think so.
Biggest is the race.
I know a lot of folk do, but I don't. David, sum up the transfer window. This is your gig, mate. The transfer window, mate. You're always you do the shows, mate. You do the shows that always are about the rumor mill, the hearsay, the gossip. Sum up as the second window of the season shuts, and that's us now to the end of the season. No matter what, this is what we've got. Sum it up for us, mate.
Oh, I mean, to sum it up, obviously. We were excited. We were concerned that we were hearing that our main man was leaving, but we were filled with optimism. We're going to be ruthless. This is ruthless Brendan Rodgers, ruthless Celtic now. We get Jota in. We're elated with that. We're ecstatic. Ruthless aggression. Hulkamania, baby. Throw me off now, mate. Obviously, Jota coming in. We're ecstatic with that. That's the one player that I think we could all agree we never thought we'd see playing in a Celtic shirt again. So we've come into this window full of expectation, full of excitement, but as per usual, unfortunately, it's been a bit of a lackluster window overall. Is it going to affect us domestically? No, I think we will domestic bliss as usual. I'm not going to repeat everything you've said about Schlupp because I agree with everything you said. I think, especially even at 32, he's got plenty left in the tank. I'm sure he's going to be with a point to prove and maybe a contract to earn. And I want a positive end on. Yes, okay, we didn't get the striker in, but I think this could be now that Kyogo's left. Adamida has decided to grab that brass ring, Phil, and
yes, indeed.
Be that main man that he claims that he wants. That is the whole reason he came to Celtic, to be that main man, and he looks hungry to be it now. And so far, so good. If he continues to play how he has in the last two games, then he will do just fine for me as our main striker going forward. And of course, Daiza Maeda, what a guy! Hat-trick incoming. So I like to say
it's probably going to happen. By the way, it probably will. Of course against Bayern Munich. Can it happen against Bayern? It'll happen in the second leg against Bayern. There you go, mate.
It's a solid 6 out of 10 for me, and that's only because Yeah, it's
Yep.
only just with the Jota deal really being such a massive
What
positive.
about the sense of like we felt the squad was too big with the 9 signings that were done in Rodgers' first summer, right?
Mhm.
David, Kyogo, Palma, Bernabe, Valle, obviously a bit of a different one. Home and others have all left the club. I think we're very good at the clear out bit. I think the recruitment bit we're more hesitant. We're not as ruthless. I think sometimes, the Lewis Palmer one, for him to go on loan with £3.3 million coming in, if he does well, and I think he will do well in Greece, he's done well in Greece before. So I think he will do well there. And I think 3.3 million is great business. Bernabe, 5 million when he was doing it back in South America. He didn't look like he could do it here. And then like Thiago Home, he had to go out on loan. If he does well in America, they've got the Bunsen. They can start coming in and going off. There's 5 million for him. And so, you keep doing these things. I'm glad to see the players that we've seen the back of. But I am, other than Kyogo. Kyogo one, though, for me was one that should have happened at the end of the season, unless he was going to replace this month. But other than that, how are you feeling about the clear out nature of when you actually list off? There's quite a few names. You got fuck, we got rid of him as well. Lagerbielke, I think, was a step closer to a permanent move. Am I right in thinking? Nawrocki, wow, he is in.
Stevie Welsh has gone out on loan, so Nawrocki's in no excuse now.
Yeah, Stephen Welsh. So there's a good few examples though of maybe just a bit of the deadwood being cleared up. It doesn't help the first team, but if we look at that in isolation, I'm for that as well. Like,
Oh, I think we've got a dodgy car salesman at the helm selling and buying our players, because
yep,
they managed to sell some of these guys. You'd never, like, 5 million for Bernabe is astonishing. Personally, I mean, just based on, I know he's done obviously well in Brazil, and a player's worth what people are willing to pay for him. Believe it or not. Like,
yeah.
But the fact, the Palmer one. That one, I just kind of baffles me, like how we've had such a drop off in terms of quality in that player, because when he first came in, he really looked a proper goal threat, and maybe that's all he was, but a goal threat at Champions League level with scoring against Atletico Madrid. The fact that we've still got Yang in the building and Palmer's away, I think's quite telling. Like you said, Nawrocki's still in the building, but Stephen Welsh and Lagerbielke away. It's I mean, overall, I'm pretty pleased with like getting rid of the deadwood. If they're not going to contribute, then yeah, get them out the door. But when you see the amount of players out the door and for what the money that we've managed to save on them, it just begs the question again, like, what are we doing in terms of getting the players in? But we're flogging a dead horse now,
I remember at one point last year, Brendan Rodgers said he likes working with a smaller, more condensed squad. Well, he's certainly got his wish now, because we really have pushed a lot out the door now. So we have got quite a small, condensed squad, and in some areas we're maybe a bit light. So yeah, hopefully we can manage this through to the end of the season and no major injuries setting in, because there's definitely still a big drop off there. But you see Yang and that all still being available, so yeah, hopefully we can avoid some of the hammer throwers sticking a few rough challenges on our players from now at the end of the season, because it could be a bit of a bumpy one. But overall, I still think, yeah, we will. Domestically, yes, fine. But I say Europe, there's already a hard task. It's just, yeah, it's just, I say the uphill task is now an up mountain task. So yeah, that's where we are with that one, sadly.
An interesting deal that's happened as well, that I think will have Celtic fans interested. Aberdeen have signed an international record goal scorer.
Okay. The Palestinian boy.
Palestine as well, being the country. So Palestinian record goal scorer. Ode Dabag is signed for Aberdeen from Belgian club Charleroi on loan.
Right. Okay.
I think but I mean, I'm very much a sport guy, right? And I'm into the football. but the waters are where they are, and they are very much mixed when it comes to Celtic between political stances and the football, right? I think there will be a vested interest in how this boy gets on in Scotland.
Yeah,
No, aye.
With a campaign. I mean, and by the way, I'm on Palestine side, and I shouldn't really need to say that, right? But I am, right? Cool. But in terms of marketing, if we were to get the Palestine record goal scorer, if he has a field day at Aberdeen, fucking hell. What an amazing marriage. The club who's backed your country the most, his record goal scorer, he comes home to Celtic. Watch that one intently, because that'll be a player to keep an eye on, definitely. That I think there'll be a lot of noise about him, Phil. A lot of noise about him, depending, how he does it. Depending on how he does. You say he scores a few goals at Aberdeen, that will get go get him. Go get for various reasons.
He's
Bit
got
of
plenty of
romance at
trophies in the
Celtic.
bag.
We missed that, eh?
Aye, no, definitely. First and foremost, it needs to be for football reasons, because if he's good
Yeah, of
enough,
course
and
it does,
not
mate.
for, But I know what you mean. There will be some that will want it done for
Whatever
other
he does
reasons.
will be enhanced, and whatever he does will be exaggerated because of that.
One goal in 15 appearances.
One goal in
15 appearances
for Palestine. That can't be his record.
No. In the
record goal scorer.
In the was it the bit? What league did he come from?
Hell.
Oh,
The Belgian league.
The Belgian league.
15, how old is he?
He's 28.
Aberdeen could sign a 28-year-old striker on deadline day.
He played. I'm interested. He played in Portugal as well. League of Portugal, 37 games, 11 appearances.
Did you see
5 goals?
Have you seen the other signings as well? They signed the boy today from Ferencváros on a free. A Dutch defender, won the Hungarian title. I think he cost Ferencváros bucks for the Dutch league. They paid 800 grand for a guy who had 5 months left in his contract, which tells you he's like, obviously his real market valuation would be, I don't know, 4 or 5 million quid. If you're paying 800 grand for a guy only 5 months left, and you're Aberdeen, so it's probably higher than that, his value. They've went, right, okay, that'll be your runs. And they spent a fee on someone else as well, around 600 grand, I'm sure.
They brought in a guy that was like Estonia's captain, like the international captain.
No, that's what I'm talking about, the 800 grand one. Yeah, he's Latvia's captain.
Oh, Latvia, yeah.
Latvia captain, 25 years old, 5 months left in his contract, and the country's playing. They paid. So they've right back to him, man. They've been aggressive, super aggressive. What's their bank balance like compared to ours?
They're the guy on a 14-game streak as well. Let's not forget that. They've backed a manager that's. Well, they're on a 14-game losing streak, and they've still backed their man.
Yeah.
We've had our best Champions League campaign ever, and it's
2 losses in calendar year, and we're on fire at the moment. All 3 trophies currently reside at Celtic Park. So they're backing their manager, and they can't even buy a win right now. Oh, they sold Duke's away as well. Okay.
I didn't know Duke was away. Condors, thank you for that. Peg Leg Lonergan comes in, and he's probably right. Geez, so 406 people live. Okay, he didn't say that, but I just wanted to get it in. 406 live. David, this is record-breaking stuff, mate, on the bus, by the way, for the deadline day. Is this a record audience on deadline day?
Definitely is.
Oh, aye.
Yeah, it is, eh?
Yeah.
And Peg Leg sums it up nicely. Gizo, talking about a strike for Aberdeen. That will tell you how bad this window was. Yeah, good point, well made.
I mean, the last window we were talking about Bojan Majov's game. We were kind of annoyed to miss out on him, remember?
What's he doing?
Bojan Majov's game, the last window, we were all talking about him. Yeah. How's he done in Spain? How's he? He went to Girona.
He went to Girona.
One of Man City's clubs.
He's played 10 matches, scored 2 goals, 1 assist in the league, and he's played 4 games in the Champions League with 0 goals, 0 assists, but 2 goals in 10 games for Girona this season. That sounds like a loan deal that could have been waiting to happen.
Yeah, it does, eh? It totally does.
Let's come back to Scotland, but nah, we didn't ask that question again. So
no,
here we are.
No,
here we are.
No, another one. Lennon Miller as well. That'll need to wait till the summer.
Yeah,
risky business. Anyway, should we call it there? I think we
should. We're talking about Aberdeen strikers. I think we should call it there.
Yeah,
I was actually going to go through St Mirren's summer signings in 2012. Just to, just
Why not?
Oh, yeah.
Ro-
2 hours
Robbie
and 24 minutes we've done.
Keane.
So yeah, we've definitely got to be put a shift in tonight. But 2 hours 24 minutes, 400 plus people still watching live. So
Yeah.
my word,
Easy work,
Angry
guys. No,
people
good
out there.
thanks enough for doing that. Appreciate it. Nice one.
no worries, mate. No worries. I just wish it was more exciting finish. Every time we've done the deadline night, David, it's always been like,
Oh,
what was
I
it,
know.
Paolo Bernardo one night, which we already knew was happening. God, what else? There was another one as well. The Adam Eder one. Adam Eder and was deadline night on January last year. But again, it was like, it was early in the day. We kind of knew it was happening. There was nothing. We're always hoping for that last 5 minutes where something just breaks out of nowhere, but it's not happened yet in any of the live ones we've done. One day it will happen.
That's
Yeah.
it. What? I mean, what's that, 2.5 hour show? God.
Yeah,
2.5
we've done not
hours,
bad.
yeah.
That's
We've
done
done not
all
bad.
right.
We've done not bad. Remember by a programme of the way.
Aye, exactly. Aye.
Aye. Football first.
Oh,
Yeah. Right, brilliant. Enjoyed that. We'll see you all later.
yep. Catch you later, guys. See yous.